Welcome to stage 2 of the Canadian division. I'm Jackie Jing and I am with Kix and Intero. Happy Friday, gentlemen. How you feeling? Intero, you working that, is it Canadian flannel? I can't quite tell the pattern actually.
I wouldn't call it Canadian flannel, no.
No, it's not. No, it ain't. It ain't.
No,
well, I think so, like a red and black. I feel like Jesse kind of
Isn't
wore
that like
Canadian flannel on
lumberjack
Friday.
flannel?
I mean, I got this in Brawley,
Okay.
North Carolina, so definitely not Canadian.
All right, so I failed on that. I'm working floral today, and Kix, I think, has a black shirt on. So looking
Is that your green one?
No, this is a chocolate brown shirt. I wore my
That's
green one
chocolate.
yesterday, or the day before yesterday.
I apparently can't see, so that's a great start
Probably the
to
lighting.
the Canadian division of stage 2. Possibly, yeah. I actually really like the wall behind us. I don't know if y'all have been paying attention to that at all, but very fancy. But anyway, I digress. How are you both feeling about the Canadian division moving into stage 2? Kix, you got both your thumbs up. Talk to me, man.
I mean, as per usual with all CG sports, I'm excited. But I think that what we saw in the qualifiers was really telling of the potential of the Canadian division. I have high hopes for their future. Mirage really put on a show. And, yeah, I'm excited to get things underway.
And Tara, you looking excited too? Woo!
I mean, these teams just played on our last Canada Division play day, and now they're back at it. And there was a slew of roster changes as well on Altiora's side, so I'm pretty pumped to see how they do about that, because they lost both Shima and Dot Dash, who were probably two of their best players and most consistent players throughout the course of that first run they had. So it's going to be a good one, and it's always nice to be on home soil casting homegrown teams.
Aw, yay, repping Canada, and Tara's happy. But we want to get to all the action, of course, but very quickly, this is a quick word from our sponsors. Take a listen.
Oh, hey friends, Jess here, and I'm so excited to be here in stage 2 of the Canada division. But before we talk about things to come, let's talk about a few events that have already transpired. So in stage 1 of the Canada division, Mirage finished in first place, which earned them $8,000, 115 six invitational points, and a spot in the North American qualifiers for the 6 major in August. Now, they did not go on to qualify for the 6 major, but instead they placed 3rd overall at the qualifier, which netted them an additional 65 6 invitational points. And that about wraps up everything that has gone down so far. So let's talk about a few roster changes. Now, Livid and Altiora both made roster changes. On the side of Livid, Spectrum and Coffee were removed to make room for Brian and Hypers. And on Altiora, Dot Dash and Zyma both left and are replaced by Sonar and Euphoria. And now Dot Dash actually left to go play on Mexican Team Met. So this brings us to stage 2. Let's talk a little bit about the format. Just like in stage 1, it is going to be a double elimination best of 3. In Group A, we have Nordik and Altiora, and they will be playing each other tonight. And then in Group B, we have Mirage and Livid. They'll be playing each other a week from today on Friday, September 25th. So that is all from me. We're going to send it back over to Jackie, Hickson, and Tara at the desk.
Thanks so much, just for that recap. So today, as she was saying, Nordik faces off against Altiora. Next week, Livid Gaming will take on Mirage, who actually placed 3rd at the NA qualifier. We've talked about this a few times. Just exciting to see how the Canadian division is developing here. And Intero, Kix talked about this a little bit at the top of the show, but Mirage actually repped the Canadian division pretty well at the qualifier.
Yeah, I mean, they managed to best Tempo Storm on what was we thought was not that weak of a Tempo Storm roster. I mean, given the performance that they just put in earlier this week, it's very clear that they've improved with Jarvis, a Canadian, by the way, on their roster. But Mirage showed up. And I think they were quite impressive. You know, did they have the results against Dark Zero and the Sonics that a lot of people expected? Yeah, they did. I mean, they got beat, which is what most people assumed would happen. But they put up some pretty spirited fights, and, you know, they were able to, I think, able to keep quite competitive on certain maps, and that surprised me, and I'm sure it surprised onlookers as well.
Yeah, I think I kind of was scared for them and thought they possibly could get crushed, but I definitely felt like they held their own, and getting that win against Tempo is huge. Kicks, we've mentioned this a couple times now, the roster changes, these teams are making new game plans, I'm sure. I kind of want to pick your brain about how you think these teams prepped during their time off.
Well, I mean, obviously, when you get roster changes, there's always going to be a time of adjustment. We've even seen that in the North American League, or sorry, in the U.S. division. And I think that it's always going to be bumpy at the start. Get a few matches under their belts, you know, get some experience, and eventually everything will kind of even out. I think there's definitely going to be a decisive disadvantage here for Altiora, given their recent changes here, and you know, that's to be considered, but it's not going to completely debilitate them. Although, you know, last time these teams met, Nordik also was the team to win, so there's a lot of layers here.
Yeah, definitely a lot of layers. I want to pick your brains about how you think the Canadian division is going to progress in Stage 2. I think that both of you gave these teams a lot of constructive criticism and feedback. So, and Tara, I'm going to start with you, but what do you really want to see come out of Stage 2 with the Canadian division?
I mean, I want to see these teams continue to build off of their team play. Map pool, obviously, is something that is being worked on. We didn't see any changes in the map pool. It's not like they have to acclimate to Chalet being in. It's, you know, it's not like Bank's been reintroduced or Canal was inputted or anything along those lines. So in that regard, I imagine over the last month and a half, these teams have probably done their homework to possibly strengthen their maps. And I mean, even if they don't expand that map pool, they need to get better on the ones that they were already good on. For both of these teams, it's a very different story. For Nordik, they kept with the same roster, and I think Nordik showed a fair bit of promise, if I'm being honest. And as a team, they functioned really well. Altiora's biggest issue was that they were very reliant on one or two players carrying a round or carrying a match. That's tough to sustain, especially when you're going up against teams that work better as a unit. And when both of these teams clashed on the final play day, you know, just a month and a half ago, the better cohesive team won 2 maps, and that was Nordik. Now with Altiora, with the changes that they've made, yeah, they lost Shima and they lost Dot Dash, which are huge losses. But they picked up 2 players who on the active roster right now are going to be Euphoria and Eska. And I think they bring experience, and I think that as a team they will function better, and that seems to line up with what their coach Bandit has said as well. I was speaking with her earlier, and she's very confident in the way that they're going to operate. So for both of these teams, I think it's just refining what they've done well. And for Altiora in particular, they are going to need to work on their teamwork a lot more than a team like Nordik, who already seem to have most of their footing under them.
Okay, Kix, talk to me a little bit about what you're thinking for Nordik and Altiora in this matchup and as we move into Stage 2.
Our expectations here, I think, are certainly in Nordik's corner. I mean, Parker just touched on it. It's Nordik being a little bit more solid as a squad already, not having to go through those changes that we talked about with the roster. I think that there should just be a slight edge to Nordik. And, you know, given that the last results when these teams met each other also reinforced that, there's definitely, I guess, a kind of favored team for this matchup. Now, that said, I think that there's enough room at this stage in the game for both of these teams to still learn, that upsets are certainly possible. And it's also possible that the roster changes for Altiora are actually something that will benefit them. Now, that is something that is still in question. As Parker mentioned earlier, they lost 2 of their, what some would consider their better players, but who knows? Anything is possible when we get into the actual match.
Anything is possible in Siege, that is right. And gentlemen, this just coming in, it looks like we are moving into our map selection process, so we are working to get that information up on the screen right now, and here it comes. So tell me your initial thoughts as we get this info up on the screens.
I mean, Theme Park and Cafe gone, 2 decently strategic maps removed right off the board. Consulate and Coastline are both much more frag heavy, and they're going to be the first 2 that we go on to. Not a huge surprise there. Clubhouse and Villa next 2 banned. And then Oregon, this is just going to be a brawl fest between these 2 teams.
Yeah, Coastline and Villa were the maps that these teams played against each other the last time they met. Now, that was a while ago. It was actually in July, so late July, but still. And it was 7-5, 7-5 for Nordik on Coastline and Villa. So we've got Consulate. Coastline's the only repeat here, and if we get to Oregon, that'll be, I think, a pretty interesting one. I always love seeing Oregon. And actually, from the Canadian division specifically, we have seen Oregon played a few times by them. And in the few times that we've seen Oregon played, it has been really interesting. The Canadian division does it very differently. And actually, specifically, Altiora has a really good Oregon. They actually managed to beat Mirage, of all teams, on Oregon. So I think that this, if we get to that decider match, could be good for Altiora. It's too early to call, but we'll see.
So I know we've been saying it's too early to call. It's Siege. We never know. Are either of you leaning a certain way right now, or really just kind of like, who knows? Coin flip. And Tara, what you thinking?
I mean, my bet's still going to go towards Nordik. I mean, they're the team that prevailed last time. 7-5, 7-5. In terms of pure fragging power, losing Shima and Dot Dash, I don't necessarily know if Sonar, Eska, and Euphoria, all of whom are going to be making their debuts here today on this new 7-person roster, by the way, that LTR is carrying around. I don't necessarily know if they've replaced gun skill with more gun skill. Now, obviously, you don't need to rely on 1 or 2 players playing that way if you work better as a team. And if Altiora are as confident as their comments seem to suggest, then they're going to function better as a unit. But that might not pay off right away. You know, these are recent roster moves, and they're going to be going up against a Nordic team that made no changes. So already your opponent has a head start in terms of how they play together. They were good enough to match you in terms of firepower, so I got to give it to Nordik.
Okay, Kix, I see you smiling a little bit. What are you thinking?
The same exact thing that Parker's thinking. I mean, all the evidence does support Nordik in this particular equation. You got your past results favoring Nordik when these teams met. You got the lack of roster changes. Parker said it well earlier, where it just seemed like Nordik has their feet under them, ready to hit the ground running here in stage 2. So, you know, the evidence does support Nordik. My gut says that there's enough potential variability to this match, or variables rather, that we could see an upset or an upset. It could really still be either one, but if I had to pick a team, it would be Nordik.
Okay, both going with Nordik. Well, let's get to the action for today, gentlemen. Take it away. I will chat with y'all a little bit later. Yay! Friday match.
Thank you very much, Jackie. And of course, this is going to be our only match of the day now. So if you're here to watch the U.S. Challenger League, it has been moved. No longer will Kix and I be the voice for that. Big ups to our Challenger League casters. We'll be taking care of that on the weekends. And to all the teams that have not yet qualified for Challenger League, best of luck. If you want to make it to Tier 1, usually Tier 2 is a good place to start. So we're going to get things underway with Consulate as map number 1. Michael, this is a map that is decently linear, has lots of room for strategy, but not as strategically deep as a map like Clubhouse or Cafe or Theme Park. There's a lot more opportunity for somebody to pop off and showcase their gun skill. We'll get into the ban phase, then we'll talk about these 2 teams a little bit more. A reminder for anybody who missed the US division on Monday and Wednesday, Ace and Malusi are now playable. So they're in, as are the new scopes, as is that new hard breach secondary gadget.
The can opener, as it is affectionately known. I've actually seen some fun things done with the can opener, but haven't seen a whole lot of it actually utilized in competitive play. We've seen it brought in competitive, but not truly used to its potential, from my experience so far. We'll see if any of that happens today. Would be interesting. Bans underway. We've got a Thatcher and a Capital ban. Capital, of course, so good at cutting off lanes and really destroying a defense. Thatcher is going to make, the lack of Thatcher, I guess, is going to make opening up that garage wall quite difficult. Echo ban. I'm guessing there will be a Valkyrie ban here. Some teams like to completely eliminate the loop that is bringing an IQ. But if they ban anything else, then IQ will still be necessary. Nope, there it is. And again, the reason they do that, it's very simple. With an Echo and a Valkyrie band, IQ is not a necessary operator, which frees up the attack half to pick anyone else, which usually is going to contribute more overall utility.
So with Nordik starting on defense, Archives Tellers, which has become the new third bomb site, tertiary bomb site, depending on how you want to use whatever term. The one bomb site that we haven't seen used that often on this map happens to be on the top floor. That CEO console office bomb site with the projector / meeting room. One of the few bomb sites, by the way, that nobody actually calls it by its proper name.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the top floor bomb site.
You've got a few of those, though. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I know that there are some. Oh, bakery. Bakery on Cafe. There's one. It's the bottom floor. It's the kitchen, but people call it bakery.
We call it. Well, it gets called kitchen bakery, but now it's just kitchen.
Yeah, but I mean, people still call it bakery. I've heard.
Yeah, that's true.
At least when I'm like when I'm playing, I hear a bunch of people calling it that. But anyway, all that said, we're actually in the game now. We got the site setting up, and well, it's going to be an interesting pick already. Storms is going to be bringing Oryx of all operators. We don't see that very often, though I could see how an Oryx would be useful on this bomb site. Of course, by that I mean he's able to jump through the drop downs. Being able to jump through the drop downs is very useful on a site where all 3 floors have plenty of drop downs and are very important to holding the site proper.
And I am curious to see how this Oryx plays in here. I mean, the typical meta for this bomb site is to stash 3 to 4 of your operators either downstairs or 3 operators downstairs and a 4th close enough. Have nitro cells in their hands, plenty of shotguns, one kind of intel operator. In this case, it's going to be S4 holding on to that pulse, so his cardiac sensor will pay dividends. Altiora already know how to tackle this, though, and what is a pretty standardized upstairs take, they'll take into admin and then go from there. And of course, they're going to want to smash up as much of that floor as possible because your job as an attacking team is going to be to shove those defenders far down as you can, and then hold the angles for a possible retake. Because right here in particular, this area that's been opened up by the IQ's breaching charge is going to allow the attackers to hold the Visa stairs. That is the most common staircase that the defenders will use to retake the bomb site, should the attackers be successful in getting a diffuser down.
Good angles opened up here by the sledge into the site. Now he's going to be looking for those holes that were pre-made by the defense and seeing if he can just get a pick through them. Not an easy needle to thread, but one that if you're able to do, can get a significant advantage for your team. Nothing yet, but the opportunity is ever present, thanks to Sledge being able to open up all of that floor. You can see that Nordik is already, as you mentioned, shoved deep down into the site. We've got 4 players operating around under the A bomb site and in the B bomb site. Bozak is going to challenge through the holes that we were talking about earlier, and he'll eliminate guns. So down goes your IQ. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, they probably brought the IQ just in case it was Archives. And you also lose Spirit. But the constant back and forth is not going to wane as we come down to a 3-on-3. This has been some pretty early action, all things considered. Usually we see this site play out more explosively.
I can understand why Altiora and Nordik were both quite keen to engage in fights there, though, just because if you can begin to whittle down the numbers on the defense and get lucky and take out one of those C4 handling operators, well, you'll be in a good spot. They can see him. There you go. Diffuser does not go down. That was almost an oopsie for S4, but he cleans up on the sonar. And the diffuser will be retrieved. Time for Euphoria to go for the plant with Eska still upright. Eska and Euphoria are both new members of this team making their competitive debut here in the Canada division. And there's one nitro cell from S4 that will need to find its target. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to get it, though. I don't know what the delay was. S4 holds onto it, and it allows the objective to go down. And Nordik will need to retake. They see but for a second one member and lose the fight as it's Euphoria to take him down. And another for Euphoria. How's that for a debut first round, and it's a big one for Euphoria and Eska. Puzzling decision to not use their Nitro Cell in the hands of Nordik, and ultimately it costs them the round.
Yeah, so, well, obviously, let's not beat around the bush here. That round lies squarely on the shoulders of S4, who at the time was playing the Pulse. He's actually going to switch off Pulse now and giving it to Poppy Skies. Wasn't he just Skies last time?
Yeah, he went by Skies last time. He has changed his name.
All right, Poppy Skies. Anyway, he'll be taking up the Pulse mantle. That makes sense, considering what we just saw in that last round. S4 playing Pulse still had his C4 in his pocket. The IQ was dead. There was no justifiable excuse. He just didn't find the planter. And in the post-plant, things were a little bit difficult there for the defense. They always are on this map. You and I were talking about this last time we casted Consulate. This is a really hard site to retake a post-plant on. Or not site, map rather. Pretty much every bomb site, it's difficult to retake the post-plant. And this that last site was a good example of that.
It was, I wonder what the call was there from Nordik and why it was botched in that way. I mean, the Pulse had them on sensor for at least 5 seconds. Was he worried that if he pushed up, he would get taken out by somebody watching? That's the only question that I can really have. What a spawn peek by Lackey that is. On to Spirits, goodbye to the Ash. That's as brazen a play as you're going to get, and it immediately knocks Altiora on and their heels.
That's a pretty unfortunate moment there for Altiora, and it comes at the predictability of their strategy. This is the second round in a row now that we've seen the entirety of Altiora congregate around the admin office and attempt to take control of it. I think that was a pretty easy read for Nordik, and, well, yeah, good for them reading into their opponent's movements and seizing upon an opportunity.
You can say that again. And Ash is in this meta a utility operator, believe it or not.
Yeah, she's actually really heavy utility.
Very heavy utility. You don't want to be losing an Ash first. This was not the case in previous metas where her main goal was to run in and kill. But with how many gadgets and how much bulletproof utility there is on the defense, this is going to be a particularly damning blow to Altiora. They lose those 3 flashbangs. They additionally lose those 2 breaching charges that come with her. But you can see Nordik is not running a Wamai or a Jaeger. They're instead running actually a very utility-less lineup. It's mostly just intel. And with lots of fragging potential. I mean, they've got a Rook and a Doc. So they are bucking the trends. And because of that, this loss to Ash is not as big of a deal as it could have been.
A bomb has been located.
There's nothing contact-wise yet upstairs, but it looks like that's about to change as Sonar starts challenging onto Lackey, holding in admin, or rather in CEO. Poppy Skies will be eliminated by Eska downstairs. That's the Pulse gone, and Euphoria will add to it as he gets S4 playing by Banana. It looks like S4 was actually trying to get aggro on Banana. A poor decision in this moment. Nordik now find themselves on the back foot after getting the lead-off frag, and now will have to fight to regain control of the main lobby, which is likely to be the plant spot of choice for Altiora. With the Evil Eye eliminated, Sonar will attempt that plant. Lifelines going into Mezzanine to try and stop a retake. C4 is caught. Beautiful shot there from Guns, and a huge save. That C4 from downstairs. Storms in particular. Unfortunate for Nordik that didn't land. And now in the post plant, again, a very difficult position for Nordik as they have to retake their own site. Storms will get 1, but it's that response of Lackey, and he won't get the second. Bozak, the last defender, has to find 3. Unlikely is the word here as he comes down to the last 20 seconds. And he's got to find someone outside. Nane's raining in. It's just not going to happen. Eska gets the final kill, and Altiora looking pretty good here in round number 2.
Obviously pretty happy with that result, and I gotta say right now, Eska and Euphoria are proving that they are more than competent to replace the firepower that was lost from both Shima and Dot Dash on this team as they come in and they fit into aggressive roles. So you've got Euphoria running on that Nomad for 2 rounds, and now Eska running on the Sledge. While there might not be a defined main entry operator like in metas before, Your Sledge and your Zofia are going to be the two that are probably involved in the opening action, should it arrive, unless you end up getting caught with your pants down. Then it could be your Hard Breacher, it could be the Ash, it could be the Nomad, who knows. I gotta say, there was no coverage whatsoever from Nordik of the main lobby. They were hinging entirely on that one C4, and when that hatch is opened up, you know that that C4 is coming in real hot, and it was played well by the Zofia of Guns to catch it, and Guns in particular used to be a standout performer on this team. He has yet to find the scoreboard, but there's still plenty of time to do that. He's letting the two new members of Altiora have 9 of his team's 10 kills. A very impressive score so far for both of them. And one thing that I wanted to touch on when it comes to Euphoria, we used to praise Dash regularly when he was on this team for having by far and away the most competitive experience on a relatively inexperienced team. Well, Euphoria also has a ton of experience as well. He used to be on that old Nomads roster. Euphoria played in the old Canada Division teams as well. He was on Team Canada, if people will recall, playing with Jarvis and Brian. Brian now, who is also in the Canada Division. He's playing for that Livid team. The roster move was made at the tail end of Livid's previous game, or their last game rather, when the team made some changes. So Euphoria brings some gravitas. He also brings lots of experience. And I would even go so far as to say that Euphoria is probably a stronger focal point for this team than Dash was. And we'll see if he continues to play at the level that he's played at so far.
It's been pretty solid, all things considered. I mean, we've seen some great fake outs from him when he was planting in Tellers. He managed to dodge the first C4, and then the second one just never came for some reason. He's also been, just doing decently on the fragging front. Of course, not the top performer. That's Eska, who has just been surprisingly sharp, I guess, in his fragging so far. Now, in this round, we're going to see Bozak trying to hold on to Projector. This is not an easy spot to hold, but he's going to do his darndest. He's got a shield in case the wall gets opened up. It has not been opened just yet. I'd like to note an interesting lack of both Ace and Malusi being played here. I mean, neither of them are banned, so I am surprised that neither of them are being played. Ace, for example, would be a very good hard destructor at this moment to open up the projector wall and make Bozak's life a little bit more difficult.
Heavy destruction work being done to Bozak upstairs, as they really do like these MP5s in different variants. And this one obviously in the hands of Wamai, who will try to do some damage onto the balcony of the A-bomb site, knowing that somebody's going to head his way from the top of Visa stairs. Bozak taking some damage. What a snap on over to Spirits, and not able to finish off the Wamai just yet. He'll play around the bomb chassis as Altiora lost Guns just a second before. But there's Spirits not missing on another opportunity, and he'll take down Bozak. With it, Nordik surrender control of that A-bomb site. And Altiora know that if they dive in, the only thing that's going to stand in their way is going to be the smoke playing in Connector. Things go from bad to worse for Nordik after having just lost Bozak. They'll now also lose S4. Lackey holding the top of Spiral Stairs while most of Altiora's focus is coming from the east side of the building. That's over by Admin. That's over by the top of Visa. Frag grenade goes out, just under 30 seconds to go. Spirits didn't have a ton of HP left, and now there's even less, and he'll be reset. Down goes Sonar to a play from the UMP in the hands of Storm, and Eska's going to take matters into his own hands. Creeping right up, but he's caught in a crossfire. Everybody from Altiora is falling, and they cannot manage to find themselves any kind of salvation whatsoever. It's Euphoria in a 1v4, running out of ammunition, does lots of damage, but not enough to account for a single kill. Nordik's very first round comes in round number 3 on a defense of that top floor bomb site. And for whatever reason, Altiora struggled mighty hard to move past the east side of the building and translate that to the bomb site.
You know, you always see situations like the one Euphoria was just in, and you have to laugh a little bit because he actually was presented with 3 targets, and if he had landed his shots, he would have put that into a 1 versus 1, and that is just a tad bit funny at this level. Unfortunately, he didn't land those shots, as he was, like I said, given quite a wide opportunity. But that was not the reason why Altiora lost the round, of course. It's not all on him. Again, the lack of hard destruction was very notable there. We, I believe, had a Maverick, as we do now, but we didn't have anything else. And the hard destruction on that site is only useful if it's ranged, really. Because the specific place you want to put the hard destruction is on that long desk wall. We didn't see any of the operators that can do that. That's obviously Habana or Ace brought by Altiora, and as such, they weren't able to open up the wall, which made pushing into Projector that much more difficult because they not because they couldn't get the pick on the player in Projector. They actually got him from the balcony. That's Bozak early on. But because they couldn't get a line of sight onto connector door. That facilitates a push up through long desk and makes the overall take a lot more versatile. Also, Spirits got eliminated on the balcony and wasn't able to cover his teammates as they attempted to push into the site. Everything angle-wise went wrong for Altiora, basically. And Nordik played it passively, smart, and overall well. It's their first round, though. They still have to work up some ground for the first 2 rounds that Altiora managed to take. Though, once again, I believe for the 4th time in a row, if I'm not mistaken, Altiora will all bunch up on admin office. So I understand that they have like a thing they like to do, but I will critique this. It does make them very predictable. They need to have a little bit more in their pocket, or this is going to get hard countered by someone at some point.
They really enjoy entering from this particular spot, and we'll see if they can make anything happen with it, as Nordik have both Lackey and Storms up top. The lobby defense came in round number 2, and Nordik, if you remember, got that early spawn peak to knock Spirits down. It didn't ultimately work out because Altiora still ended up taking the round, and a big part of that came from their coverage inside of main lobby, which was very well played. And the defense that we saw from Nordik hinged a lot on that C4 getting tossed up, and well, as you can tell, it didn't really go anywhere. It got shot out by guns, so.
Now, top clear is mostly successful. They still have some rumors by it's Lackey over by CEO. He's got support from Yellow Stairs as well, so he doesn't have to worry about his flank. Really, in these kinds of situations, Lackey, if he lands his shots, then he's racking up the headshots, and we'll probably see some kills for Nordik upstairs. The question is, will Altiora deviate from the full top clear and simply focus on the site now that they don't need to worry about projector presence? Or will they decide to confront Lackey? I think it looks like right now it looks like they're deviating, keeping control of the balcony to prevent vertical play in projector while just going for a straight plant.
Wonder if this sound is going to give his position away. There goes a Nitro cell and finished off by Bosak, as lots of damage being done to Altiora. Now, Bosak just chased off of his position inside of the antechamber. He'll look towards the main step leading into the main doorway. Euphoria also gone as well. So Altiora trying to replicate the success from round number 2, and they are not going to be able to do it sufficiently at all. Maverick pulls out a frag grenade, and you can hear lots of bullets. And you can see the Tracer's a great shot as well, as there's sonar ready and waiting with Eska in on the fun too. Now Nordik will trail in terms of numbers. So it seems like Altiora's commitment to that main lobby hasn't really been that bad of an idea. There's a cam up of some kind. I would assume it's a bulletproof camera as it's giving calls, and Bozak swings on in off of that information, and Spirits finds the final 2 kills. And Altiora, well, it was a chance for Nordik to be able to tie things up, but Altiora says no. They're up 3-1.
Oh boy. All right then. That was a 5v3 turned into a 3v3 in the last 25 seconds. The defenders, or actually a 2v3, sorry, not a 3v3. It was 5v3 put into a 2v3, the 5 to the 2. And that's just, I mean, that's really surprising, especially given the time constraints that Altiora had. We didn't actually see where specifically Eska was able to get those 2 picks. But whatever the case be, an important and impressive 2 picks for Eska, and certainly ones that are kills that swayed the outcome of the round. That was through and through a round that Nordik should have taken, and, well, ultimately didn't, as surprising as that is. Life moves on, I suppose, but surprise is still the first thing in my mind there. Impressive tenacity from Altiora. They had a very simple strategy. It probably shouldn't have worked out. It already started off poorly with the kills going the way of Nordik and the initial scuffles. But saving it in the end. I mean, a win is a win.
This is Nordic's map. It was not played in their head-to-head matchup earlier on, so this is a new frontier for them, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's certainly seeming like Nordik may have made a mistake, though it's too early to call.
Mm-hmm. We'll wait and find out.
Now, Archives has been bad. Oh, no, really? Sonar loses almost all of his HP. He tried to challenge through the drone hole, and, well, it backfired. As I was trying to say, okay, well, Storms is going to eliminate guns as well, so Altiora, not a great start here. A little bit of damage done to Storms, but a kill's a kill. And while Guns hasn't gotten a kill himself yet, he's not going to be able to nullify the pulse in this round, and that's why they're bringing that IQ in the first place. I was trying to say this site has not been friendly to Nordik, but it actually almost was won by them. S4 just made a mistake last time he was pulsing here.
Yeah, I remember that. That was very much of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
Like, you've got them all on your cardiac sensor and you don't do anything with it? Like, that's kind of puzzling.
It was.
Euphoria starts things off. He gets rid of Storms. That's the castle taken out. The top fragger on the team, but in the clutch, a castle is not going to really do too much for plant denial. You know, he's very likely got those proximity alarms as the secondary. As now the options are proximity alarm or bulletproof camera. And there go all the castle barricades. All of them. So any chance that Nordik had of slowing down Altiora is completely gone at the hands of the sledgehammer. Now Nitro cells in hand, and Nordik will try to stop them. And there's going to be calls coming out with 3 Nitro cells still in play in the Mirror of the Pulse as well as the Kaid. 1 minute left. And Altiora are very aware of this. They're going to need to try to dodge those explosives that are going to be coming for their feet.
There's a lot more time to work with this go around for Altiora, and they're going to start their first plant attempt. It'll be called out. Sonar's sticking, but he gets off, and okay. Well, Poppy Skies kills himself to stop the plant.
Sacrifices must be made.
It seems that way. There's still C4 in play. Is S4 going to use it? No, he's looking the wrong way. The C4 detonates just somewhere else. And once more, Euphoria is able to plant not under the radar, directly in the radar. Nice kill there onto Bozak as he attempts to take control of Statue. And unsuccessful. And there's another one for Euphoria. He gets his third. Looking for the fourth. There it is. A trade to end out the round. A 4K from Euphoria and a plant.
Riveting action on perspective of Eska. Both Spirits and Eska were upstairs covering, but they weren't needed.
Yeah.
Because all you needed was Euphoria downstairs watching. He was the, what would you call it? Insurance policy, so to speak. The other two upstairs were the insurance policy.
He was the front line.
Could be the front line, yeah.
And he didn't let him pass the first line.
No.
Impressive stuff. Although it also did seem somewhat like the people challenging him were kind of just handing it to him on a silver platter. I mean, and when S4 came out of Banana, and he's like staring at the ceiling, I'm like, no, what are you doing? Your teammate just died. Where are the calls?
Defenders, protect your bombs used by attackers.
This has been an absolutely dominating performance from Altiora, and they've done so in quite an amusing fashion. Nordik has won 4 opening duels. Those were the 4 rounds that Altiora won. Altiora has won 1 opening duel. That was the round that Nordik won. So if you're watching, we always talk how important that opening pick is. In this case, I guess the opening pick is only important because if you get it, you lose the remainder of the round.
Yes, very important.
Which is not great.
It has been a different match, to be sure, than I think expectations would have suggested. One thing we can say, and this is cool, Euphoria and Eska appear to not only be great contributions to Altiora, but serious standouts, at least in their first map here.
Yeah, what do they have? 15 kills.
Yeah.
In comparison to 5 kills for Altiora, my.
It's been good for them.
I'd say so.
And it's always nice to see new players come in with confidence and surety like that. Now, once again, CEO take. We haven't been seeing this site a lot in the US division, but clearly Nordik are keen on playing here. Lots of soft construction going on by admin. This is, once again, the same as always, Altiora. Take from admin office. No deviation from the path. They know what they like. And it's working so far. No serious problems have presented themselves yet for either squad. Now, there is a pulse downstairs. That'll need to be dealt with by Altiora at some point, or they risk C4 from below to deny the plant. We're coming down to the last half of the round here, and actually, a C4 to deny the plant is not going to be an option, as it's a C4 to kill Euphoria before the plant even goes down inside of Visa. That's actually a really big pick, specifically because Euphoria was the flank watch, and on top of that, a top performer, of course, for Altiora, as we've been discussing.
Trying to flush somebody out of connector, there's going to be damage done to the Maverick of Sonar, who backs up. Bozak has been taken down inside of Projector, and Skies is going to need to do something to try and stop it. I don't know what he's looking at, by the way, but Bozak gets finished off, unless the idea is that Skies is going to shoot at the legs of whoever ends up going by. This is going to be a tough one. Altiora will need to break on in, and they had a great degree of difficulty when attacking this bomb site last time because they couldn't do much to get control of the A-bomb site. Now, if they can bait out the utility from Nordik, that'll be good. You can see there's no nitro cells left. There's only one toxic canister left. Barring a Maestro camera, you don't really have any hardcore plant denial. Sonar attempting the plant, smoke going off, and tasing being done, and there's Eska falling and Sonar as well. So Altiora having some significant struggles here yet again. In the midst of his smoke with 10 seconds left is the smoke of Skies waiting. The Ash sprints on in, isn't going to get anywhere. Gunned down by the SMG-11 as well with the Maestro right behind him, and S4 will finish things off. If only Nordik could have gone to that bomb site 6 times, they'd maybe up 6-0, but 2 attempts is all that they're capable of winning on console upstairs. We switch sides with Altiora up 4-2.
No, I'm sorry that there's no excuse there for Altiora. The way that played out, what happened, gas canister through the wall, maybe, but certainly the evil eye in the site. Ash had both of her Ash charges. Zofia had both of her impacts, and you're losing your plant to an evil eye. That's puzzling. Now, still though, a good half for Altiora, so at least they can rest assured that they won that first half. They'll go on to their defensive half now, and they'll start in the bottom floor. Well, I think the bottom floor is seen as the best bomb site on Consulate by many teams these days, especially if Maestro and Mira are available. Mira makes the oppression from the Evil Eyes even more oppressive, and it's a good combo to force the attack to clear out just so much utility. It's just all of the utility that you could possibly imagine. And if you throw like a shield in there, or as we're seeing some teams do, Malusi Wubwubs, then it usually gets a little bit more difficult. Again, very curious that we're not seeing a lot of Malusi, especially on basement. She's actually quite useful here in deterring rush strats and just burning attacker utility. At least, though, we are seeing an ace, and I think that's smart.
I think it's a good call to deal with all this utility, and we'll see how Nordik can work with it, especially since Ace is going to be the single hard breacher. We haven't seen a lot of rounds where he's going to carry all of the weight himself. A number of teams were doubling him up with either a Maverick or a Hibana.
Yeah, but he can do it all, especially on a map like Consulate, right? Because this is a hard destruction light map, except the only place that you need an excess amount is, of course, the garage, as you need to open the drops and the panel. So yeah, I think in this particular round, it's not great that there's only him. But on other rounds, I think he could serve as the only hard breacher. Now, early on here, Sonar is going to get picked off inside a bathroom. That's truly unfortunate, as he was the lone roamer in the bathroom, and now that pressure is completely lost for Altiora very early on. No time wasted.
Interestingly enough, this is actually the first time that we are seeing Garage as well, so how these teams are able to play off of this bomb site is going to be fun to watch, especially with Ace in play. Is if the US division is any indicator, the Garage can be held very effectively if you hold far enough back, but you basically have to forfeit total control of that garage wall, which seems to be the case here, and Altiora understand this, as now that wall has been completely opened up on both sides, albeit there's a small panel in the middle that you can possibly stand there for and have some, I don't know, defense protection, whatever you want to call it. Nordik might stall out here, though, so they need to be especially careful, as there's just about a minute left. Yeah, they took down Sonar. That's one of 2 nitro cells that were on the board. Frag grenade goes in. The target is very likely a Maestro camera, but we'll see exactly what happens. They're going to dare one of the members of Altiora to peek on them, and so far nobody is giving up that fight whatsoever. And this is what I said. You need to be very wary of stalling out, because it appears that Nordik might be at that risk.
This is a great position for Guns if he can actually land his shots, but he's failing so far. Goes for the reload. That gives an opportunity for the attackers to push up, and there's the frag. Pipe player goes down. All the while the plant is happening, and Poppy Skies won't get it down. Stopped in the nick of time by Spirits with the gas canister. The vault on the railing from Storms. He needs to try and get that diffuser. His teammates are congregating there as well. And there it is, the final kill. It's Bozak to pick up 3 big frags and end out the round for Nordik.
Incredible play by them. And honestly, Nordik, as I said, they were at risk of stalling out. What do? Well, the one person who really could have changed the tide of that round was the Jaeger of Guns, who was playing on yellow stairs, covering the ash that broke in through the yellow doorway, covering the openings that had been created by the Ace to see exactly what could happen. Frag grenades very likely took out one, if not both, of the Maestro cameras, depriving Altiora of some very valuable intel that left mostly the black mirror windows up, and that was really all they had to go off of, because they didn't really have many other intel operators, if any at all, on their lineup, actually. So Nordik just storm on in, and the various defenders of Altiora got a little bit too confrontational, and it looked like they missed their fights. The Jaeger in particular could have very easily picked up a 2-piece, missed most of the important shots. When Altiora pushed up to try to stop the plant, the gas canister was great. It was dead on, and it managed to stop Skies from being able to get that diffuser down. But then the rest of the team tried to push up off of that, and Nordik were prepped and waiting for them. And with the setup that had been done on the garage wall and the holes that had been shot through the various walls into the back of the bomb site, there was nowhere for Altiora to hide, and they were not prepared to engage in gunfights. And if they were, they lost them. And Nordik takes their very first attacking round. Funny enough, Altiora is going to go right back down to Garage. So clearly, with the only change being the mute out for Sonar's Kaid, I wonder if they think that they've figured out what the issue was with this defense and that they managed to patch it up.
Yeah, I mean, really what the issue was, of course, was the frags coming for Bozak. He was in the middle of the defenders, able to pick up the kills while everyone was distracted trying to deny the plant. So I guess, yeah, Altiora's hoping that won't happen again. We'll see. Now, also remember that pick early on to the mute who is playing inside of the bathroom. Assuming that doesn't happen again, Altiora will probably have much more delay factor, and that's going to put more pressure onto Nordik when they go for the execution. Now, you can see Guns is aware of his opponent on the cement wall, but there's a very small window of opportunity to get that pick, and Storms is just not wandering into it. So, yeah, Guns essentially just wasting his time there. He'll relocate. Bozak and Storms are just trying to prevent any presence inside of Piano, and also get the Electroclaw that is on the garage panel. Now, look at that. That's ping 2.0 right there, giving the exact location of the Electroclaw away. And that's good information for Bozak. Now, he can use that to get the Electroclaw, but he hasn't actually done it yet. Or no, it seems it has been done. Possibly from the Yellow Stairs door, actually, by S4 instead. And as long as the job gets done, it doesn't matter who's doing it.
Walls opened back up in what is assuredly a preview or a repeat, and there's the Maestro camper that gets pinged over by White Van, and the grenade goes in, and they should have taken care of it as the ping fades. So that's one piece of utility that is now removed. There's a smoke that gets tossed in from Skies, and he's going to be very eager to get that diffuser down, as it's going to obfuscate the attackers, as it's perfectly cutting off the holes opened up by Ace's Selma. But I don't know if they've just used it to waste time or not, but nobody from Altiora bothered to take any initiative. And in fact, Nordik didn't use that smoke as an opportunity to push on up. An ADS shot at the same time that a drone is on yellow stairs, and Guns will be in a very familiar position now, holding over by pipes. He'll get flashed and stunned and hit the deck just to try to survive for the time being. He has not been in top shape in terms of fragging potential. They're going to need a big round out of him this time as he watches over by yellow stairs. There goes the toxic canisters. The smoke is going to force the smoke out. If that's not confusing, I don't know what is. Candelas go in from S4. Poppy Sky's taking a lot of damage. Same with Bozak, but the very first kill is going to come from the Zolfia of Bozak. The Ying around back tries to do some damage and isn't successful at all. Finished off as now Skies is going to be able to get away with the diffuser successfully planted. A second kill from Bozak taken out by Spirits. And Altiora and Nordik find themselves in a 3v3. Beautiful shot from Spirits. He's got 3 so far, every single one for his team. But now the daunting task that lays in front of him is to retake with that garage open. With one member of Nordik as far away as is humanly possible, that's the Sledge, punishing Euphoria, waiting to see if there's going to be a follow-up. Down goes the Maestro, and now Eska is taken out too. This is all on Spirits to ace clutch. He's got 3 kills so far. He's going to continue to toy around, and he'll get shut down by Lackey. The comeback is real. Nordik have tied things up as they have 3 consecutive rounds. It's 4-4 for both of these teams.
Well, if anything, the story here is that this is going to be a long match, and that's always great to see. These teams not letting each other stray too far away into the advantage. Now, that was a pretty smart round from Altiora, and I know that sounds weird considering they lost it, but all things considered, they made fair adjustments. Now, their fair adjustments were not enough to win them the round because of the execution of those adjustments. You could see quite clearly there, Altiora was aware they jumped the gun when trying to retake the garage last time, and it cost them too many lives, and thus the round. So they played more passively in this last round, and actually it started off fairly well. They didn't fall for the fake smoke, no wasted utility there. Then when the push came in from the attack, it seemed like the attack was getting chewed up, and the frags were going distinctly in favor of Altiora. However, in the end, there still was not enough denial to prevent the plant. And now there's one thing in particular, one specific reason why that is the case. It's because Spirits was so distracted killing the entire enemy team that he didn't have time to deliberately stop the plant. Now, he did really well in doing that, stopping the plant early on, but he had too many things on his plate trying to play inside a kitchen. Now, the other thing that could have stopped the plant was an Evil Eye, but the only one that was positioned to stop the plant was by White Van, and that one was destroyed early on. The second one was on the pillar near pipes, and that did not have line of sight onto the eventual plant spot. So a solve there, or a fix, could be planting that Evil Eye, or putting that Evil Eye somewhere different. You could put it on the boost spot in the front of White Van. That's harder to spot for the attack. Sometimes they don't even notice it. You could put it in front of Black Car. You've got a lot of options, really. But the option that was chosen there did not afford many in the actual round for Altiora.
So, that's 2 attempts at defending Garage, and Altiora showing some significant struggles, so you have to go somewhere else. At this point, you can't really go for it a third time, as Nordik looked much more convincing on that second round that they attacked on it. Mind you, the numbers were closer, but they were still able to, they were still very able to hold and hang tight after they got that diffuser down.
Yeah, and of course that post plant downstairs, real hard to retake. I mean, it's a change in venue here, as Altiora has given up on the basement, and rightfully so. They really struggled there.
So, half the round to go, or roughly close to half the round, and this has been extremely quiet between these teams. We've had a couple rounds that have actually been just like this, as you're in the discovery phase, and an explosive goes off, and there goes all the cover that Sonar had. Tries to swing onto the Nomad, but loses the fight to Storms, and Nordik are going to continue to just absolutely feast upon Altiora in terms of opening picks. This is well played stuff, and they've flushed out control over Projector. A missed chance for Storms to capitalize on a member of Altiora playing at the top of Spiral Stairs. He's going to go right back to it to try and deal some damage to the Jaeger of Guns, but Guns will be able to get away scot-free, not losing a single portion of HP. Storms at about 30 is going to continue to trudge on. He's just absolutely dominating the kill feed alongside Bozak, so you don't want to lose either of those two players early right now with how well they're playing.
Now, you can see those discs going into the main lobby. That's going to be very useful when it comes to the smokes that Nordik might want to throw down and attempt to plant with. No picks apart from Sonar, though. It means that this is going to be a very dangerous plant attempt. Poppy Sky is going for it, though, regardless. Gas canister number 1 to push him off. Now, with only 28 seconds, he's not going to be able to fake out all of these smokes. Fierce will use the second one confidently because he knows he can chain smoke until the very end of the round at this point. Now, the connector, or rather the mezzanine rappel here, anti-chamber rappel, is very dangerous for the defense, and that shot is very important. Guns getting him off that rappel means he can push into the main lobby nice and free. He'll be downed, though. Not a moment of opportunity there for Altiora. The plant will be stuck, and in the dying seconds, it's all on Euphoria to retake the main lobby. Once again, these situations keep presenting themselves to Altiora, and they keep struggling in them. Nordik seem poised here to put this onto 5-4, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the first lead that they'll have, really, in this match. First substantial lead, to be sure. That's a nice shot from Euphoria. That's another nice shot from Euphoria. He'll have to find 2 more, and he dies to a single bullet, so it's certainly not looking likely. But he sees the tracers, follows them, and just can't land the shot. Storms finishes it off. Nice try there to Euphoria, but it's not enough.
2 hot hands going against one another, and those frags that came out from the Maestro were totally impactless. Nordik on attack, looking pretty good. And I mean, right now you've got a set of circumstances where the attackers are just having a ball on Consulate. There's only been 2 defender victories so far. They were both Nordics. They both came on that top floor bomb site of Console and Projector. Altiora on defense have really struggled to put anything together. That first round, it was a 3-VO. Second round, 2-VO. Third round, 4-VO that become, or 4v1 that becomes a 2v1. But the timer was about to strike to the point where it didn't matter if he got the kills or not. The Maestro wasn't going to be able to get the objective. Objective play have been good for Nordik. Opening duels have been good for Nordik. In terms of pure stats, on attack, they have been so dominant, just as Altiora was, minus the opening duels. And I don't know what Alt is going to do to try to find themselves on defense, but they're going to need to do so in a hurry because they have now surrendered 4 rounds in a row. It's been over 10 minutes since they tasted the sweet nectar of victory here, and they are struggling. Yes, you were correct. This is the first lead that Nordik has had all game. So what do you do if you're Altiora? What is really going wrong with this team right now?
Well,
10 seconds remaining.
I'll be blunt. I think the utility used for both teams has been a major problem. There's many opportunities that are being presented by the defense to the attack because C4s are being missed, Evilizer plays poorly, gas canisters aren't doing their job, etc., etc., etc. So, I would say for both of these squads, on defense, the utility game needs to be upped. Maybe thought out a second time, more refined, however you want to put it, because it's not working currently. And you know, look at this. We got 4 C4 on an Archives defense, right? Are those C4 gonna get all the kills that they ought to? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But based on history, it just somehow doesn't seem likely.
Nordik doing the same thing that we saw from Altiora, which right now is obviously the meta when it comes to attacking Consulate, and has been for quite a long period of time, which is take admin first. It's usually uncontested. There was a couple seasons there where teams would invest, especially when Mira had just been unveiled as an operator. where you saw teams aggressively hold that part of the map. Not so anymore. It's not quite the case. Teams instead prefer to fall a little bit farther back. It doesn't matter what bomb site it is. Given this is Teller's Archives, you are going to see what is very standard, which is 3 C4s down below. There's 4 in total from Altiora right now, but 3 seems to be the minimum that teams need. And as an attacker, you need to ensure that you dodge at least 2 of those. If you can't, you're in significant trouble. 1 not dodged from Nordik as Eska gets Bozak and blows him sky high. Not the spot that you want to find yourself in. Nordik immediately losing 1 member, and this is interesting, and that is a flub. And instead of blinding his teammates, oh my goodness, what a blunder from S4, just all around bad, and Eska is able to capitalize off of it.
That's a huge win there for Altiora. Poppy Skies tries for a plant attempt, but it's not gonna work out. He has to come off. He'll go right back on. Heartbeat detector on someone that is not the planter. So Poppy Skies might actually be able to get this plant down. And yes, indeed, it looks like he will. The pulse distracted by storms. And Altiora now needs to retake into the site. Now, they do have a strong man advantage, but that might not matter. This is still a very difficult retake. Eska gets Poppy Skies. Lackey, though, crucially, will eliminate Spirits. That's Lackey's position known, and he'll be an easier target to pursue. And as Storms gets eliminated, it's all on Lackey. He'll need to ace if his team wants to win this round. That's the 3rd kill. Now he needs to deny that diffuser from being disabled. As luck would have it, he's a sledge, but he doesn't actually acquire the target. Sees his opponent, doesn't land the shot, and it doesn't matter because Altiora steps off as they see the tracers. Sound will give away intent here, and Lackey will react. It might not matter that Eska got that final kill, though, as there's only 3 seconds. A beautiful clutch there from Lackey. And Nordik will put this on match point.
What a round, Michael. My God. So well played by Nordik and Lackey in particular. A bit of a missed opportunity from Altiora and a questionable decision making there after they had a very promising start to that round with Eska picking up a double kill. And he very easily could have been the hero of that round. But instead of the Pulse being able to get upstairs quick enough, unfortunately for him, Altiora losing their disabler. You want to call it that? Disabler?
Disabler.
Is the term for it, I guess?
Yeah. Well,
that sounds so sinister. I am the disabler.
The disabler.
The disabler.
I disable people.
Yeah,
that's all I do.
That is correct. Also diffusers. Also disables diffusers.
Diffusers and people, yes.
Yes. But goodness, I just, it's so many things went wrong for both teams there, and it ended up being quite messy, but a spectacular finish is, well, it's a sight to behold. It certainly didn't seem like Altiora was going to be able to lose that round, and then, well, they did, and boy, did they ever.
Yeah, it was a pretty good round there, from Lackey to clutch it. But yeah, Altiora should have had that one. Let's be real. The main problem there, this seems to be a reoccurring theme for both teams, strangely. The Pulse is always off doing something that's not calling out the site. And that's profoundly confusing, as that is the whole reason. You bring the Pulse, let's be clear. You bring that Pulse to prevent your enemy from planting an A. And the Pulse has been doing anything but that. Now, sometimes there's other good things that the Pulse is doing. And I mean, when I say the Pulse, I mean for Altiora and for Nordik. To be clear, both of these teams have been struggling with using their Pulse. Now, to be clear, the Pulse does do good things, just not the one thing he's there for. And I just found that really funny. Lackey, obviously, plenty pats on his back, I'm sure. And Nordik attacking onto Archives again. Parker, every round for both squads, it feels like there's been a heavy repel presence on these admin windows. There are ways to punish that, just to be clear. Like, there are some things you can do. You could C4 from Visa. You can C4 them from Coffin as they attempt to push in, or from Cafeteria. You could do setups where someone plays in north and south corners. You could stop that admin push, and just doing that would shave off like probably a minute 30. Even if you don't get any kills. I'm surprised that none of that is happening for the defense.
Not entirely sure. But obviously Altiora feeling the pressure here as they have now given up 5 rounds in a row. Round 5 is when they won their attack, and that was it. I mentioned earlier how you have to bait out these nitro cells and be very wary of anybody playing down below. If you look at Altiora's lineup, they've got 4 nitro cells yet again. That shouldn't really surprise anybody. The Pulse is going to be in a game of cat and mouse with S4, and there you go. Eska's taken about 25 HP or so. No nitro cell thrown out as an act of desperation. There go all the Selma charges as well, and Eska will go back onto this cardiac sensor to try and see where people are. Will he get dispatched by an IQ? That's the question. There seems to be a lot of uncertainty here from Altiora as to what to do with this Pulse.
Yeah, they're going to get the first C4. Storms almost dies, not reacting to the call in time, or maybe the call didn't come out in time. But he'll survive. Poppy Sky is going for that plant, and he'll be eliminated by Spirits, so the C4 is well placed this time. Kills are still going in favor of Altiora, but the plant attempts are still coming. One C4 after another, and now there's none left in the tank, so the plant will go down from Storms. No! In the nick of time, saved by Eska. That's huge. Bozak will get the refrag on Spirits, who is pushing up Visa Stairs. But in this 2 versus 3, with only 30 seconds, Nordik are in a bad spot. They were hoping to lock it out this round, but it's just not happening. Now, because of that pick, there is top 4 control for the defense. And as Lackey goes down, it's all on Bozak. He has to find 3 and get the plant. Now, Pulse still has his heartbeat detector, even if he doesn't have the C4. He'll be falling out of the position this whole time. The prone is perfect, and the shot lands. Guns will get the final kill. And Altiora will keep their chances alive.
I'm sure they are very elated over that one, as Guns is able to take him down. And 2 kills, actually, as Guns gets both of the final kills to keep his team very much in this. Overtime is a thing, so if Altiora can win this round, which would be their second successful defensive round, matching Nordik's total, then we need extra innings, in which case the attackers will be at a very obvious advantage given what we see right now of the scoreboard. 3 defensive victories, 8 attacker victories. Altiora will go down to Garage and Cafeteria, the bomb site that they started their defense off on in rounds 7 and 8. And they had a lot of struggles here, Michael. Nordik obviously sticking with what works, but Altiora got boxed in towards the back of the bomb site. They didn't exactly have any ability to fight back when Nordik rushed the B bomb, which is entirely where their focus was. And Altiora, they started off with this mute. They didn't really like it. They went to a Kaid. Didn't prove to be quite as successful either. So this is desperation right now for Altiora. If not, Nordik takes it by the same scoreline that we saw in Coastline and Villa when these teams met a couple months ago, which would be 7-5.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended in the 7-5. I wouldn't be surprised to get to that OT either. Right now, both these teams are proving their... I guess their proximity to one another in terms of talent, in terms of preparation, it seems. I think Nordik and Altiora have been those teams for each other for a while now. Now, the roster changes don't seem to have made that much of a difference. And in fact, again, clearly, based on this map's performance, they've actually elevated Altiora. As you can see, Euphoria and Eska, gosh darn, they really are walking away with those kills. Now, once again, top clear here for Nordik. They're going to be looking for the roamers that don't exist on the top floor. They'll need to confront Sonar in the bathroom eventually. But his existence will likely not be known for a good long time because of the mute jammers. It will have to be assumed by Nordik when they get to that point. But they're not there yet. I'm a little bit worried about Nordik because of how much time they have now spent clearing upstairs. They need to be a little bit faster so they have actual time to execute onto the site.
I was going to say, Storm's being on this flank hunt, he's distracted Euphoria entirely. It was a strong start for both Eska and Euphoria. Eska's kept it up. Euphoria has fallen off a bit on defense. But he's also been playing more static roles, safer roles.
Yeah.
Anchor roles, as people would call them. There was a lot of explosives that just went off, by the way. It could have been Sonar's nitro cell answered by an explosive on somebody else's side of things, but it doesn't look like any of the explosives have been used right now from Nordik. Sonar's been given away inside a bathroom. He hits the hatch and will have to drop at some point. SMG out, a fadeaway shot, but he's not going to be able to make it. What a play from Lackey above. And Sonar is removed. That is a bad start right now for Altiora, but from what we know of opening picks, it is not a mortal blow.
At least not in this map, not so far. Now, down goes the Mute Jammer. That's going to allow the Ace to open up the garage as we hit the last 60 seconds. Shield called out on pipes. That shield will allow the Jaeger of Guns to continue to play on pipes as long as he's got an ADS to protect him. The nade goes in, and it goes under the pipes, possibly? The explosive does not destroy the shield, nor does that impact. And this is a continued waste of explosive utility here from the attackers. Guns will finally be pushed off, but the shield is still intact because once again the nade went under the pipes and did not destroy it. Now that means the position could be retaken later, but Guns will actually instead just push up Banana and die. 20 seconds left here for Nordik to make this execution happen, but they've got a two-man advantage. The utility is going to be paramount here, but as the smoke goes down, that's going to get very difficult for Altiora. Plank going down from Poppy Skies. He keeps sticking those, and they tend to work. Now it's all on Eska and Euphoria, the newest members here. Euphoria goes down, now just Eska. He has to land some really important shots, and it's just not going to happen. Nordik will lock it out, and we'll move on to map number 2, 7-5.
Only a few things are certain in this world, Michael, and it seems in Canada, a certainty is Nordik beating Altiora 7-5. They did so on Coastline and Villa just a couple months ago, and they'll do so now in the rematch on Consulate. It was a strong start, though. When you look at Altiora, they took 4 of the first 5 rounds, and then only took a single one after that, which is a rough shape to find yourself in. But let's bring in Jackie and get the whole gang here.
Oh man, that was a matchup. Altiora was up 2-4 at the split, looking really comfortable, and then we just had a lot of back and forth, and Nordik pulled it off. I want to obviously talk to both of you about how Nordik effectively battled back here, and we do have our highlights up now. And Tara, I'll start with you.
I think when you look at this lineup, the Capitao and the Thatcher bands on attack were not that impactful. I mean, Ace makes the attackers have a really big advantage when it comes to hard destruction, especially on that garage bomb site, which is kind of surprising actually that that Altiora went there 3 times, because out of all the bomb sites on this map, that is the one where I would think Ace would have the most impact, and that really frees up a lot of other operators to do cleanup around him getting that garage panel open. I mean, the one thing that we touted about Nordik in terms of their strengths heading into this match was how cohesive they are and how effectively they work together. And that appeared to be the case. There was nobody off on their own doing their own thing, except for maybe the flank watch of the Nomad a couple times. Everything that Nordik was doing, especially on attack, was very well orchestrated. And I mean, Altiora is still trying to adjust to a new lineup. I think that they had frag power there from both Eska and Euphoria. It was a slow map from Guns, but ultimately Nordik did look like they were far more practiced, and they had an idea of what they wanted to do on attack, and they pulled it off masterfully almost every single round.
Yeah, Nordik definitely looked like they were in sync. They had the chemistry there. Kickstar, what do you think really contributed to their success on this last map?
Well, I would agree with Parker. Of course, the cohesion was more apparent on Nordik. We also saw some serious hero plays. Of course, that round from Lackey where he got the quad kill. Now, he was answered by a quad kill from Eska as well, but he got the quad kill, denied the disable of the diffuser. That was big. The biggest thing for me is the focus on objective play from Nordik. It was more apparent than it was with Altiora. The plants in particular for Nordik, they really did focus on getting those down whenever possible. And the Ace, yeah, Nordik brought Ace. Altiora didn't. And yeah, Ace is best on the bottom floor, but he's also useful on the top floor. He can be useful on the middle floor as well. I mean, he really can be useful on any of these bomb sites. Even if not as much on the bottom, or much as on the bottom. And we didn't see that from Altiora. They actually brought some kind of odd picks. I don't think they even brought Habana that much. They mostly brought Maverick, which is just, I'm very confused by that selection. So the utility game was a little bit off for Altiora. The cohesion was a little bit off for Altiora. And even though we saw those individual heroics, it was still not enough for Altiora to ultimately win many rounds. Like, when you think about Spirits, when they were defending the bottom floor, he picks up a 3K, he's stopping the plant for like 40 seconds by himself as the smoke, he's looking good, but his whole team is dying as all this is happening. So the teamwork's not really there, And it seems like even sometimes in Altiora, we'll see players try to double up on the same job and then trip over each other. I've seen that a couple times happen. So yeah, no, more time is needed, I think, for Altiora to refine their roster a little bit. But I say I'm very impressed with the score given all of that.
Yeah. And both of you talked about the use of Ace, and I believe during the map I heard you guys talking about wanting to see more use of Malusi. I wanted to talk to both of you about elaborating on the importance of these two new ops. And Tara, I'll start with you.
I mean, Ace is really effective at clearing out utility. You can use his gadget on deployable shields if need be. He comes with a great gun. You know, he can take huge portions of the wall away. His only real glaring weakness is on hatches. And he comes with smokes as well, you know, and that does kind of free you up, because if you're trying to fit smokes into your strategy, a lot of teams are bringing Gridlock for that. If Jackal remains unbanned, Jackal's your boy, or even Capitao. In this case, Ace can fill that role. You can bring a hard breacher and take smokes with it, and then bring a nomad for your dedicated anti-flank, and then lots of explosives for your 3 other operators. He fills a role really strongly on a team. As for Malusi, she brings 3 very annoying and frustrating gadgets to play around. They slow you down, they're bulletproof, and it just further contributes to what is already a utility soak meta. As an attacking team, you need to bring no shortage of thrown gadgets like flashbangs or candelas if a Ying is on the board. You need to ensure that you're bringing a Zofia or a Sledge almost every single round, along with Ashe. Ashe, Sledge, and Zofia are near must-have picks for teams. So her gadgets just eat up yet another frag grenade. Her gadget, the Banshee, it eats up another Ashe charge. And she's, you know, she's a 3-speed with a really reliable gun in the T5. And then she's got a nitro cell if you need it. You know, she's quite good. And the way that I see it is that both of these operators are in a place right now where they bring a ton to the team, and they're almost always universally good picks.
And Kix, I'm sure you can echo some of those sentiments. You talked a little bit about Ace, but I do remember while you were casting, you were like, I do want to see more Malusi.
Yeah, I mean, the executions, the attack strategies we've been seeing from both squads could be not countered necessarily, but hampered somewhat by just bringing in Malusi. I mean, she is probably the most free of any of the operators. Like, you think about, okay, what makes an operator free? It's how they're tied to their utility. For example, Pulse is not tied to any prep phase utility. He's got a heartbeat detector, right? So he needs to be somewhere in particular in the action phase. So he's tied in that specific zone. But prep phase, he's usually hunting drones, getting the drop downs. That's his role. Malusi is the opposite. She's a prep phase tied, then free in the action phase. Once you get those Malusi wubs on the floor, you're pretty much done. So she would be a very useful operator just for bolstering not only the frag potential, but slowing down the very quick attacks that we're seeing from both of these squads.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for that analysis. And up next, we have Coastline. But before we get to that, we just have a quick word from our sponsor. So please take a listen.
All right, well, map number 2 is ready, and we are willing to get underway with Coastline. In just a moment, Nordik up 1-0, Michael, and they go to Altiora's map. Now, there are similarities to both Consulate and Coastline, but this is going to be completely different. A more free-flowing match, I would imagine, much more frag power. With what we saw out of the first 2 teams, do you think that gives an advantage to either Nordik or Altiora?
Okay, so as we've discussed at length before in the preamble and even the last time these teams met, Altiora have always been good at fragging, but they're not good at doing it in unison. And Nordik tend to compensate for that by, well, doing it in unison. Nordic's teamwork is above and beyond. So I think that this will go very similarly to map number 1. I think if there's any map that's going to allow Altiora to leverage their individual prowess to get a win against Nordik, it'll be Coastline. So, could go either way. I expect this to be a Nordik one again, even if it's close.
They're going to start off on defense, just as they did in map number 1, Michael. Who are they going to ban, though? They're taking their sweet time.
You know, they are definitely wondering about it. It's going to be Ace.
And they had a lot of success with Ace on the previous map, so is that a bit fascinating to you?
Yeah, it is. And also, Altiora didn't use Ace on the previous map. Also, this is Coastline, and Ace is useful here to an extent on specifically, like, he can open up the pink bar, but I don't know. It's a weird ban. It's similar. It's along the same thought process as the Habana ban that we see so commonly on this map. It's the range charge destruction. That's what they don't want to deal with. Thatcher will be the other attacker gone. It's Echo, and I'm guessing Valkyrie will be the final one. Again, some teams just like to eliminate the Echo Valkyrie IQ loop.
Valkyrie and Echo, the same bans that we saw on Consulate. So nothing changes in terms of the defense. The only swap out here was Capital will be in play, whereas Ace was previously. Hibana also will be on the board, and she was usually the hard breacher that took up the role of ban, as she has a very dramatic and strong impact here, as you can use her from longer ranges. Same with Ace, you can throw his gadget. You can do the same when it comes to Hibana, just firing away at those X-Kairos from quite a ways away. I wonder if we're going to see any creativity when it comes to these hard breachers here, but Hibana being brought out right away, and no 6th picks at all from either of these teams. They like what they have, and they're going to go into round number 1 with these.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
All right, so we've got the Jaeger with my combo in tandem with the shield and the Evil Eyes from S4. That's going to be not too much to jump over. You've got, of course, the Zofia Ash to counter all that. Zofia brings the stuns to clear ADS and magnets. Ash brings the flashes or stuns. Now, and then they both have their explosives to get the actual device you're trying to get in the end. Your backup is going to be the nades on Eska. You've also got 2 sets of stuns on Euphoria and Sonar, so there's plenty of clear here for everything that Nordik is bringing. And that's actually a big part of the equation when it comes to competitive Siege these days. It's something that I think falls under the radar for your average viewer, and understandably so, as the action's usually what captivates, but the lead up to the action is filled with stuns clearing ADSs and magnets, shields that need to be dispatched by explosives, and the actual crazy battle that happens therein. It just, usually isn't noticed very much, but it is so very important. Again, I would say that probably, the majority of the attacking lineup and the defending lineup is brought with the thought of, does this operator contribute to the utility clear game in the way that we want as the attackers or the defenders?
It's a good way of summing it up. And as I noted, that Sledge Zofia Ash combo, well, unsurprisingly, all 3 of them are presently visible on the board, along with the Nomad, who is a favorite operator by both teams. And like I said, one of the big reasons why Ace is so good is that if you're going to bring somebody for smokes, which obviously there's nobody bringing smokes right now on Altiora's side, a lot of times Nomad does tend to get shoved off of her spot and the smokes go in that position instead. Well, we're not going to be able to see very much what the Nomad can do because she's the very first casualty removed by Storms, as Nordik continue to do well on the opening picks as they did in map number 1. But Altiora does manage to get something back, and looking for another as they manage to catch them off guard. 3 kills from Altiora as they just appear towards the back of the bomb site, and this is going to be bad. Or rather, not the back of the bomb site, my apologies, over by the upstairs clear of Penthouse Theater, as the bomb site is downstairs in kitchen. This is going to leave the dock and the smoke to hold off the remaining 4 members of Altiora.
Attempted retake here, but it's difficult with the shield at 90. Sonar gets a very easy kill onto Storms. Yeah, he was going for that push because he really had no choice. If he wasn't able to get a pick, then there was no way that they were going to be able to win the round. And by they, I mean Nordik in this instance. Sometimes when you're on a disadvantage man count-wise, that's just your only decision that you can make. Gas canister to service entrance to try and deny the plant. Bozak's doing his darndest, and you got to be impressed by his tenacity, but it's not enough to win a round. Altiora take round number 1, and they really put on display their individual, I guess, potential. We saw Spirits just walk down Projector Hallway and picked up 2 kills uncontested.
Yeah, that was a pretty quick one. The Ashe just exploiting a weakness in the one spot that you wouldn't expect somebody to push from, which is the back of theater. The wall opened up and the Jaeger was there to possibly watch it. It seemed like there was utter disarray in the defensive setup from Nordik as they weren't able to relay the position of the Ashe as quickly as they needed to. From there, you have control of the top floor, and you just winnow down the remaining members of Nordik, who valiantly tried to retake but couldn't do so. The dock in particular wasn't going anywhere, and I can understand why they thought that was a good idea. You want somebody to go up there, maybe catch them off guard. You're not expecting, when there's 2 defenders remaining, to have one of them, if not both of them, attempt to retake from above. Just as Spirits had caught you off guard, you were hoping to do the same thing to the Altiora team. Unfortunately, Altiora was ready and waiting, and they gunned you down. And ultimately, a very dominant start for Altiora, and Nordik will need to be better on this round and then moving forward, or else this could end up being a quick one. And obviously, I don't think that round is going to be a pattern. I think it is more of an outlier, and it's a different bomb site for Nordik, maybe in hopes of slowing down Altiora as they'll go to Hookah for their second defense.
It'll be a delay strategy downstairs. This is typical. If the defense can get underneath Hookah, they can wreak some serious havoc. So what you do is you roam downstairs to, at the very least, slow that clear down. Prevent the Ashe charges. The Zophia's lifeline impacts the grenades from below, what have you, and allow the anchors a little bit of peace of mind. In this round, Altiora are putting a lot of their forces on the north balcony. They're going to attempt to clear into VIP, open up the VIP wall, and gain line of sight into the A bomb site, or billiards. This will also apply pressure to Bozak, the smoke, who is attempting to play by the pink bar. It's just a matter of time before that happens. There is a Habana being brought here by Altiora, and that'll be what opens up that VIP wall. Storms will take down the drone on White Stairs flank, but that will be called out and heard by Altiora as they're all around White Stairs. No opportunity for a flank, but he at least opens the window or forces some other utility to be used to hold that flank. So, Altiora just posturing over here on the east side of the building, laying down some shots, trying to pick off a player, not getting anything just yet. As soon as they can, they will start their push into the site. There's too many layers of the defense here still up for Nordik.
There's a lot they're going to have to cut through right now, and this small opening is going to be really beneficial for the Maestro as long as S4 is capable of hitting his shots to greet somebody from Altiora, but oh my, takes a lot of damage from that exact angle he was just looking at and is now going to rethink his play looking towards billiards. So he'll toy with the barricade in the opening next to it to try to do some damage towards the doorway of that circular couch referred to as VIP. The Maestro will have to hit the deck and drop as he's been injured, but there goes some of the wall as well. This Habana, the long-range hard destruction, putting in great work. Everybody from Nordik have been shoved off of the bomb site, and Spirits is unable to hit his shots after getting the very first kill. A double kill from Esco with Euphoria there, and Storms blows himself up. He knew that's exactly what was going to happen, and with it, Altiora takes round number 2. They are off to a very good start, and this is still an attacker-heavy matchup.
Okay, the first domino to fall there was S4, literally and figuratively. S4 has looked confused through this whole match, I gotta say. Whether it's on utility play, angle play, gunfights, S4 has just looked confused. And in that last round, he gave away most of his HP to an angle he knew was being challenged by an attacker. And then as he got downed and then fell through the drop into Sunrise, a couple things happened. Because he was downed, there was no pressure on VIP hallway, and there was less pressure on Aqua. Now, his role from that position in Hookah was to support a crossfire that Nordik was trying to play with Bozak, who is in the pink bar. Because he was no longer there to support Bozak's crossfire, Bozak got double push from Aqua without any assistance from his team, and he was actually even distracted by the VIP push, again, because there was no pressure onto VIP Hall. So, all of this to say, S4 really needed to prioritize staying alive where he was instead of Hookah, because he was the linchpin for that defense. And as soon as he was removed, it was an easy flood call for Altiora. The frags started popping off, and, well, Nordik fell apart.
10 seconds remaining.
Did you say flood call?
I don't think
I think
so.
you said it was an easy flood call, and if so,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah, I
that.
did.
I like that a lot, Michael,
I did say that, yeah.
because they flooded the site.
I forget the words that I say after I say them.
Flood call.
Yeah, right? Yeah, well, that's what they did. They called the flood.
It's okay. You called me handsome earlier. You might not remember it, but you definitely did do it. You did it. You did it. Don't even
okay.
bother to try. You did it. You probably just forgot.
No, I believe you.
Oh,
You
there
got better memory than I do.
Thanks, Michael. You're handsome too.
The clear on the shield here. All 3 ADS is placed. That was a complete waste of Ash. I'm actually angry about that, Parker. Did you see what just happened there? He used two Ash charges before using 2 stuns. Use the stuns until the stuns detonate, then use the Ash charge, and then you still have an Ash charge. Now they had to use the Zofia lifeline. They just burned half of their hard destruction, half of their explosive destruction. For no reason. Could have been
Unbelievable.
Could have been 1 Ash charge.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate bit of utility wasted there, and we've seen it from both of the teams. You know, those grenades over on the pipes as well that we were remembering were not the greatest from Nordik when they were trying to take out the deployable shield and the Jaeger who was in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
So, both teams obviously have some stuff to work on, and that's the beauty of having 2 newer squads do battle. They've had a couple months together now at this point, but oh boy, there we go. Need to get used to those new gun sights. That's for sure.
Yeah, actually, you know, honestly, with the new optics, since the sensitivity is different and we're all still trying to figure it out, I've seen some really hilarious things happen when people are using the 2x, the 2.5x, or even the 1. Or the 1.5x, because it's just a different sense. We're not used to a different magnification.
Yep. Oh yes, I'm with you on that one.
It is weird.
Oh, this could be a troubling spot. He sees him for a second, lights him up, and there he goes. Does enough damage onto S4, the Wamai, who did not know that the entire roof above him was being sledged out. Altiora is in a great position to strike here. They're inside of pool entrance. It's often referred to as mud room. And they're watching to see if anybody from Nordik are even remotely close. And the answer is no. Nordik are very far back right now. There goes the toxic canister tossed out. The gas canister will shake Sonar off of the spot. Spirits will be the one to cover. Down goes Storms and Lackey falls as well. Altiora showing that Coastline is a significantly better map for them. Bozak in a 1v5. Could it be a flawless round as Euphoria adds to the tally? Diffuser for Sonar, and there you go. It's a drop from the Zofia of guns, and indeed, a flawless round. Altiora very firmly in the driver's seat here on map number 2.
Could be a story of attacker sightedness on Coastline. Could simply be, as you mentioned, Parker, the fact that it definitely seems Altiora are more well-versed on Coastline as maps go. Whatever the case be, the likelihood of a map number 3 is starting to increase. Now, that last round, oh boy, lots of layers there. The utility game for both squads is throughout this series and even through their past matches always been, I think, a detracting characteristic from the overall performance of the teams. And in that last round, I mean, like, Altiora won it, but I'm still angry about what happened in the mud corner. It could have been so much more efficient.
Attackers need to locate
And then the frags start coming out. Nordik didn't really do much upstairs. Their anchors were pushed off really easily because of the upstairs presence and started going for that plant. There's really nothing that Nordik could have done because they didn't position themselves appropriately. So they're going to not try that site again. Instead, they'll sway into the kitchen And I think that's the right call. I don't think double bar is a good site for Nordik, and they don't even have to defend it. We're on the second quarter of this match now, and Nordik can be more selective with their site choices based on their previous experience. Words are hard today, Parker.
Attackers objective.
So maybe we'll see double bar just get left by the side of the road, and we'll forget about it.
I'm having a great degree of difficulty speaking today. I don't know if it's one of those days.
Sometimes we have them. Whoa, is this a rush?
It sure seems that way, and Spirit's playing off of how good he's been so far. He takes one down, looking for more. They're still droning out the bomb site, but everybody's dying before they can bother to get on in. Altiora in control with Sodar getting the plant off. It's finally up to Nordik to get on the board, and they find 3 kills for it, and immediately they snatch the lead on this round. Lackey going for the counter disable. The Maestro doing as much damage as possible, but Guns finds 2. Even though only 1 is showing on the scoreboard, S4 has been all but mortally wounded. Storm's now in a 1v2, and S4's been picked back up, but now Storms is down, and it's all over. Just like that. Altiora finds their 4th round in a row. They are doing mighty fine here on their map, and they have come to play on Coastline.
Okay, I feel really bad about, like, constantly bringing up one particular player's performance. But once again, I'm going to restate, S4 has looked lost through this entire series. Map number 1 and now map number 2. He crucially gave away himself on Hookah that one round. He stood right under a hole that was just opened above him in Sofa one time when they were trying to defend Sunrise Bar, and I think it was the first pick for that round. And now in this round, guess who walks right by him? Spirits. Now I must assume that S4 was on cam, but he was in stock in the corner, and Spirits just walked all the way into kitchen through service entrance. There might have been a rotation. Maybe he rotated through that. Maybe it was just timing, unfortunate happenstance, and that's unlucky. But then even on the potential stick that we saw on service entrance, that's probably a worse crime, actually. He could have Lackey could have stuck that. That really could have been ninja disable right there. And I was actually excited at the prospect, but he just needed the one kill of cover there from S4, and it just didn't come out. Unfortunate. Now, it's not all on S4, obviously. I'll be real with you guys. Nordik are kind of just asleep at the wheel, it seems. What did Spirits really do there? He walked in service entrance. Is that any one person's fault? Not necessarily. It's really a team effort to let that happen. So I'm going to go ahead and say that maybe Nordik should practice Coastline a little bit more after this series.
Yeah, it certainly seems that case, and this will propel us to Oregon being the tiebreaker between these teams. So if it's needed, which is not a given just yet, it still might end up going to Nordik. It was 4-1 on Consulate, and it still did not go in favor of Altiora. So there's plenty of game left to play, but there's certainly nothing right now to suggest that Nordik is able to keep pace. They have 4 kills in 4 rounds. That is pathetically bad.
Yeah.
They're going to have to find the score sheet pretty soon. So we'll see what they can do.
It's funny because if you have an average of 1 kill per round as a player, then that's actually that's fairly decent. Yeah, that's you're looking pretty good. Like, I mean, it's not amazing, but yeah, you could take that and you would be considered a solid player at this level. One average of 1 kill per round per team is not the same. It's just not. Bozak looking for a kill through a hole pre-placed there, and well, as Lackey gets eliminated in Projector, attempting to rotate, that leaves Poppy Skies on 90 by himself, and he'll get the 1 kill for Nordik. So after this, the gun should start falling alive, but no, Skies gets a second, and it's Spirits eliminated. Now, eventually the refrag does come out from Guns. That's really good for him, who actually, Guns has yet to die this entire map, so he'll keep that record alive. And well, as he opens up above, using his breach charges, he's going to apply a lot of pressure to the anchors, who are going to start feeling that when the execution comes by service entrance.
A very quick burst of action has now stopped, and we'll wait, as this looks like it might end up being a replay of when Kitchen was attacked on round number 1, with a lot of the skirmishing going on upstairs. Soft destruction, as much as you could come to expect, as there's breaches still in the hands of Guns. He's got 1 explosive left, and then of course you've got a number of swings from the hammer of the Sledge of Eska. 2 toxic canisters left, gas canisters, toxic babes, a mess of beauties, whatever you want to call them, and Bosak can stop a push and possibly even the diffuser from going down in that service entrance. It's Euphoria to just sit there and fire away to see if he's burned out any ADSs or magnets that might be in play, and with both Skies and Lackey rocking those 2 operators, well, you come to expect just that. Storms is down to 1 HP now as the kill feed is entirely orange. Euphoria attempting the plant, just 4 seconds left, and that's it for the Kaid. Picked off as he heads towards main lobby by Guns. Altiora, 5 in a row.
I want to say that's a 4K for Guns, if I'm not mistaken. Impressive stuff from the man. He's really been putting up the shots in this round. And it's, you know, if it's not Spirits, it's Guns right now, or so it seems for Altiora. Ah, boy, this has been rough for Nordik. You know, it's not just been rough because of losing the rounds, but it's the nature in which they lose the rounds. You know, like this is not a contest that I'm seeing right here, and it's a little bit disheartening to say such a thing, especially considering map number 1 and how close that was, how good of a contest that was. I can only hope that Nordik will shave off 1 round here, and then when the sides switch, Nordik will look amazing on attack, and then suddenly it's just, oh, okay, attacker side had got it. But I just don't get that vibe by the way that Nordik are playing right now. They seem completely disheartened.
We're looking for the perfect side from Altiora. We don't see a lot of 6-0s when teams defend on certain sides, but this is as close as you're going to get. And given the fact that you're still looking at a really measly scoreboard for Nordik, they found 2 kills in that round, that was it. There's nothing to suggest that this tide is going to turn. The greatest gift that Nordik might get is when the side swap happens at the conclusion of this round, but it's an awful lot of ground to make up, and your room for error is a single round. That's it. So Nordik knows exactly what happens if they lose this one. Essentially, the map is over, though we have seen crazier things happen. The likelihood that they're able to come back is going to be quite slim.
Yeah, I mean, and they put themselves here. Nordik put themselves here. So, like, let's be clear about this. Altiora are playing well. They know Coastline well. That is much is obvious, and props to them for that. But Nordik are certainly presenting an more than ample amount of opportunities to Altiora to gain the decisive advantage. It keeps coming up. We'll see if this round will be any different. Now.
Oh, did you see that, by the way?
What?
I don't ever use the reflex sight, but since they've added the accessibility options to change the color of the crosshair, the reflex sight dot is now a default red.
Oh, I forgot that we use default. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought of that.
It's not green anymore.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit weird, but I mean, hey, is what it is. You could change it too if you want. You can make it green. You can make them all green.
Would you like us to change the crosshair? Vote below. That's not a real thing, by the way.
Let's make it purple. That's a big
What
kill.
a shot from Bozak.
That's huge. He just there gave Nordik something that they haven't had this entire map, and that is momentum. And that was a big pick. It took down one of the main gunners. Now it's been answered back. Down goes S4, but I guess that's a foregone conclusion at this point, so don't worry so much about that if you're Nordik. We'll see what can happen on a 4v4. This is the best position we've seen Nordik in a while.
There's still a lot of time left here, just under half of the round for them to be able to pull something off, and Altiora have looked mighty fine. They're going to have things to work through, though, with this lineup from Nordik. And a second kill comes out from Bozak, this time on Eska. Right now, he's playing in the foliage, the plants, whatever you want to call it, at the bottom of Cool Vibe stairs, and he's got an angle on it that just cannot be beat right now. If he needs to, he's got a shotgun for backup as well, but the SMG-11 seems to be his preferred weapon.
Let's go, Bozak. He's been putting up some big kills there, and since we haven't seen any Ray of Sunshine yet for Nordik, it's just, you know, it's heartening to see. Now, as we hit the last 35 seconds, he'll need to use his gas canister, his last one as well, to delay this plant. Guns is still alive, though, and again, if it isn't Spirits, it's Guns. And here he goes, fragging again. He'll go for the plant. Cover is not there on the gas canister, but Guns should have enough HP to stick that plant. No! Just at the end, he cannot. And what a shot from Lackey. Sonar falls asleep at the wheel, and suddenly Nordik look like they might get one round out of this map. But it's not going to be Euphoria with the clutch. It'll be Bozak with his final kill. I believe his third or fourth for the round, as he had a pretty big one there.
And down he goes. Nordik obviously fixing their issues, but a little bit too late, sadly. That was their last defense. They do that 2 or 3 rounds earlier, and who knows if that confidence is motivating enough to carry them to a couple more victories. At least they grab 1 round before the sides swap. And it's Altiora now to go on to defense. They have still been far and away the better team here, as the score will suggest, but defense on Coastline can be an entirely different ballgame. And if what we saw on Consulate is any indication, well, this is a very attacker-sided matchup so far. So conventional wisdom would suggest that Nordik will pick up a couple rounds here. Will it be enough to close the gap? Well, in order to push overtime, Nordik is going to have to repeat the scoreline that just happened. They're going to need to take 5 rounds of 6. That's exactly what they did on Consulate. They took the victory with it. But so far, they haven't looked like the same team. There hasn't been that same level of comfort. Altiora's first defense is going to be on Kitchen, down below. So far, the most played bomb site on this map.
Rightfully so. I'd say that this is probably the easiest to master good bomb site on Coastline. That's how I would put this. Probably the highest peak potential bomb site is on Sunrise Blue Bar. However, that is a very difficult site to get used to, and not everyone's comfortable going there. Now, Altiora have proven themselves quite adept at coastline attack. We'll wait to see if they can do the same thing now on coastline defense. I think they'll be fine. I think that certainly from the performance we've seen thus far, this is a map 3 performance here from Altiora. And then, who knows at that point? I mean, it's seeming like these teams, in their way that they play, mostly their result hinges on which map they're playing. So it's map preference that is shining through here, at least through the map 1 and 2. Now, if I'm not mistaken, map number 3 will be Oregon, but I'm just double check. Yeah, it's going to be Oregon. And again, Oregon has been played between these squads, but it was in the last, or was the old roster of Altiora. So I don't know if it really matters. But last time, Nordik did win at 7-5.
That scoreline is still possible, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
For anybody who's keeping track at home, that scoreline, still doable.
Yeah, because these teams it's always 7-5 with them.
Yeah.
And it could happen.
If you're Altiora, you're hoping that you get 7. You don't really give a damn how many Nordik gets. So
yeah.
It is a slower start for Nordik than what we saw at Altiora when they were attacking on this map. They're going to push Kitchen from Sunrise, and using Hibana in almost every single round seems to be a given. Damage done to Lackey as the first altercation happens halfway through the round, 90 seconds off of the clock. And they're trying to deal some damage to the Wamai, who's playing behind a deployable shield. It looks like that deployable shield might have been removed, and it's Lackey with a superior sight to try and hold on to it. Wamai is actually upstairs. It was the Vigil that was holding onto that position. There you go. You ever have a cameraman just directly call you out?
Yes, many times.
Because that's what just happened. I was like, oh, it's the Wamai. And they're like, the Wamai is upstairs. You were wrong. Well,
we only see so much.
They're still provoking that fight, though, from Sunrise Bar right now. As you can see that Altiora is sitting a little bit farther back. What a shot from Guns onto the head of Storms. And removes the flank that was coming in from the Buck. A big opening pick for Altiora as they lose Eska in turn.
That presence on service entrance door could have been huge for Nordik. Storms only has 1 kill so far through this series, but even him just existing there would have been big. He's dead, so the prospect is lost. Spirits will get Bozak, and that's unfortunate, as he attempts to push out through the hallway. This angle being played by the Maestro of Euphoria is going to prevent a push in through Kitchen, and it's been detected by Skies. He's trying to stop it, but it's not an easy angle to challenge. You actually have to go into the Kitchen to really get it. And with 15 seconds left, that's not going to happen, considering there is still Kitchen presence. So the attack scrambles. Altiora in the driver's seat. Guns gets another kill. He won't get the third. Lackey will be felled instead by Sonar in the site. Spirits by the main lobby will get the last as well. And Altiora, match point here, or map point specifically, looking like it's going to be Oregon right after this.
Very much in control of this map, and obviously showing how important it can be when you pick your map. So Nordik either taking a step back or Altiora taking a massive leap forward. As you pointed out in that last round, these teams did battle on this map just a couple months ago. Nordik won 7-5. Clearly, and you don't need to be an expert to know this, clearly something has changed.
It does seem that way, yeah. I think that Altiora as individuals have gotten better. I think that this roster, this is a very promising roster. I'm happy for Altiora with the way that things have worked out. However, I am also weirded out a little bit because this is absolute domination here on Coastline. Let's not beat around that bush. But we just saw a Consulate that looked completely different. And I know that map preference goes a long way, but this is almost too far, if that makes sense. This is far more of an advantage via map preference than I would anticipate for any matchup. And let alone one that we just had a map where it could have gone either way. This is very weird. We've seen stuff like this before. I'm not going to say it's completely unheard of. It's just abnormal. And it does call into question, what are we really going to expect in Oregon? I honestly don't know anymore.
I couldn't even tell you. Oregon is going to be a brutal brawl fest, just as we saw here on Coastline. There's obviously been strategy here on Coastline, but more than anything, I think this has just been a slugfest. And oh goodness, he gets droned out. Good coordination by Nordik there on what is a pretty common and cheeky pre-fire spot from the Jaeger, who's now ready to do battle through the main doorway, but loses it to S4, and Nordik taking the very first kill, removing Spirits, who's been having a pretty good game so far. Guns, speaking of, was very quiet on Consulate, but has been the standout performer so far on Coastline and has really come alive in a number of rounds here, and is a reason why Altiora is playing as confident as they are right now with that 6-1 scoreline.
So again, if it's not Spirits, it's Guns. So because Spirits is dead now, you should expect Guns to drop a 4K. Now, Spirits has also been a little bit less awake on the defensive half, although this is the second round of that, so that doesn't mean very much. Now, Buck below, he's going to be able to actually do a lot of work here, trying to find the anchors inside of B. Direct confrontation there. Eska tries to challenge through the holes that are made by the Buck. Does not get anything out of it, though. And you can see Storms isn't even going to contest it. I think there's he's probably worried about losing it and having another round where he's not able to get any kills. Now, Guns finds one from above and loses most of his HP there, and he'll lose the rest of it. There goes Storm with his second kill. Skies will also get Sonar, so the air is really getting hot here for Nordik. Looks like they may be able to keep themselves in this yet.
The Vigil engaging as best as he can, as this is a time for desperation. Desperate measures. Desperate times call for desperate measures, I think, is the go-to saying here. As Euphoria and Eska realize that if it's a 2v5, you're going to have to take fights. And Euphoria is looking the wrong way. Capitao is down below. Euphoria was looking above instead. You're going to have to look a little bit differently. Down goes the Maestro, though, and so too does Eska. And a very, very anticlimactic round that started off quickly and then ended semi-abruptly gives Nordik round number 2 so far. They've got quite the mountain to climb to get back. And they'll be on the razor's edge the entire time, as it will remain match point for Altiora until overtime happens. And that's, of course, if overtime is even needed.
Now, well, yeah, overtime might not be needed at this rate. I guess we're going to find out. Oh, boy. That round was telling for me of the attacker favoredness of this map. And I get that. I don't know if it's going to be enough for Nordik, but who knows? We can't get a... Nordik cannot get a 7-5 now.
Bombs as they can.
But they could still win if they bring it to OT. Just going to require 4 more rounds in a row, 5 total. So, yeah, we'll see. Sunrise Bar, though, for Altiora. Not going to be hookah billiards again, and that makes sense given what we just saw.
Have discovered the location of a bomb.
Those early picks for Nordik really cannot go unanswered this time around. If they happen again. Malusi being brought, by the way. I like seeing that. I think
This is the first time we're seeing Malusi so far between these two teams.
I mean, I'm not going to trust my memory to that one, to be honest. It's all
I think so, Michael.
It's been a bit of a haze.
Yeah, I think the answer is
Objective is to defuse
yes.
the bomb.
Okay, so if that's the first time we're
Yes.
seeing the Malusi, then it's not a moment too soon, Parker. She's especially useful on maps like Coastline, where it's such a shallow map that there's already only so many places you can be. You may as well put a Malusi there. I mean, geez.
Speaking of shallow, if you're going to try to take Mudroom, as we see seems to be the intention right now, with Eska watching in that angle and just beheading Lackey in brutal fashion through that Mudroom window, already Altiora find themselves in a pretty decent shape. Remember, there is no room for error here when it comes to Nordik. They need to ensure that they win every remaining round if they want to stay alive in this map. If not, Oregon comes on to the menu. I was going to talk about how shallow the map was, but, you know, there was a kill.
There was
a kill that stopped
Lackey
me.
got eliminated. He was throwing a grenade there into default plant, trying to get the shield, and it was Sonar or Eska who... Yeah, it was Eska. He peeked up and got that kill. That's smart there from Eska. Good use of his shield. And that could be, actually... that could be the thing that puts Altiora into the map number 3. That could be the final nail in the coffin. The beginning of the end, so to speak.
Now, you might not see any members of Altiora hugging the bomb sites right now, but they are far enough back and there's been enough soft destruction done to give a very long point of view into the bomb sites. And as you can see from what's being brought on the side of Altiora, Malusi has that nitro cell that I'd talked about earlier. Mute of Sonar has a nitro cell as well. But there's no smoke on the board, and the only other plant denial that's going to come in will be those evil eye cams of Euphoria's Maestro. So you have to make sure you're hitting your shots, because if not, you don't really have gadgets to play off of. Sonar with the nitro cell in hand could be particularly crucial here, but his little undersight laser is going to be spotted on the wall, and as you can see, Bozak is prone and ready for it. I don't know if they know if he's going to engage here. There's a kill for the Capital onto guns. Lots of damage being done to Storms and Skies. And shotgun out, that could have possibly been a winnable fight for Sonar, but he falls off. Realizing that there's but 30 seconds to go. Beautiful shot from Sonar on the Skies. Diffuser surrendered and the Ashes back for more. But shotgun out and Sonar finds number 2. Running upstairs looking for another. He will just narrowly miss the Nomad as S4 guns him down, but trades off most of his HP in the process. That's going to leave what little is left of Storms with Diffuser in hand to try to get in and go for a plant. Stopped and slowed, but for a second by the Banshee, as now Storms will go for the plant. Down goes S4, and this should be the map! With Eska coming up huge! Oregon is up next as Altiora answers back 7-2. What a dominant map for them, and they take their own map.
A much more dominant map there than map number 1, and one that leaves more questions than answers for when we get to map number 3. Truly an interesting map overall. Well performed there by Altiora. But let's I guess bring Jackie into the conversation.
Yeah, I
see
mean,
what she has
if
to
we
say
have
about
to.
it. If we have to, yeah.
Come on, guys. You missed me. Be honest.
Welcome back.
Just kidding. Yay, I'm back. But yeah, that certainly went different than map 1. Altiora dominating map 2. I think Kickstar said that. Why do you think that they performed so well? I'll start with you, Antero. I keep on starting with you, actually. Sorry. Just keep on putting you in the hot seat.
That's okay. You know, they say if you can't handle the heat, don't run a Capital. So, you know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Anyway.
Thanks for that.
You're so welcome. I mean, Nordik didn't look very well coordinated. Their strategies on attack were not very strong. On defense, they were largely a mess. They couldn't handle the aggression that was being brought from Altiora. And Nordik just, I don't know, they seem to be getting caught off guard by how quickly Altiora was pulling off these attacks. And I mean, credit to Alt for that. They looked like they didn't have to worry about too much. They took engagements. They did so really effectively. They won their gunfights way more often than not. And, you know, there's a lot that can be said about good strategy. But then if you just cannot hit your shots, which seemed to be the case in a number of rounds for Nordik, where the inverse was true of Altiora, as they were hitting every single shot, your strategy can be really well refined. But really, some of those engagements just come down to gun skill, and Altiora won them.
Well, we were talking at the beginning of the show and also our analysis after map 1, and we were talking about how synchronized Nordik was and how they just seemed in sync. So, Kix, what do you think happened on map 2? Did they maybe go into map 1 too confident?
No, it's just map preference. That's what's clear to me. Nordik doesn't seem to like Coastline very much. They clearly haven't practiced it nearly enough. And yeah, they look disjointed because of their lack of practice or experience or what have you, preference on the map. And yeah, I mean, Parker said it well. There were a lot of moments where Nordik, what did they do to win the round? Oh, they just walked into sight. Yeah. Like Lackey walking through service entrance and picking up two kills to get the initial entry and allow for a plant. I mean, that's inexcusable, to be blunt. And it mostly comes down to a lack of experience, in my opinion. I think, we need to see Nordik put more time into practicing on Coastline. Did I say Lackey? I meant Spirits, by the way, if I got those two mixed up. Speaking of the players, I mean, Bozak and S4 had a particularly bad map, I'd say. There were a lot of moments where, not necessarily just to do with frags, but positioning or utility play, there were struggles from those two. And I think there's got to be something going on there, because it looks like they're having more than just like they're not up to the task. It looks like they're having a bad day of sorts, and I wish I knew what the problem was, but it's not great timing. That's for sure.
Okay, so they definitely need to put some practice in, it sounds like. But I heard both of you talking about these teams and their utility game. And Taro, what problems have you seen over these last two maps, and what improvements would you recommend?
I mean, there's nothing really glaringly obvious to me. For Altiora, on the very first map on Consulate, it looked like they were getting outstratted. They didn't really change things up that much. I hate to say it, but Nordik worked effectively together. They knew when to cycle in and out. They knew when to fall off their position. Their site setups were quite good. But then when both of these teams went on to attack, they just looked much better in every single way. And, I think it's harder, and I don't know if Michael would agree with me on this, but I think overall for a newer team, it's harder to put together good attacks than it is to put together good defenses. So for Consulate, I think it's kind of the fact that both teams weren't the greatest on defense, so it makes the attacks of their opponents look better. But when you look towards Coastline, there wasn't really much good there from Nordik, period. Altiora looked like they were really well coordinated. They looked like they were very well prepared to go up against any team. Nordik looked slow. They looked confused. They looked like their comms were a mess, and they just didn't have any idea where Altiora was going to come from or how Altiora was going to take map control, which is kind of weird because if you scrim against any team in North America, it doesn't matter if it's the US or Canada, some of what Altiora did, especially on that second floor, is very routine. Taking control of the way that you get hookah, the way you get control of penthouse, the way that you get control of billiards, that stuff is what every team is doing right now, and Nordik just didn't seem to know how to deal with it.
Yeah, Kix, I saw you nodding a little bit. So I guess, do you agree with a lot of the things that Intero's saying? What problems have you been seeing, and any improvements that you'd recommend?
I mean, yeah, of course I agree with a lot of what Parker's saying. We're usually on the same page about these sorts of things. But one big standout to me is it did really just look like, I don't know, the teams, Nordik did look a little lost. I think, I don't know how we got here, if that's the case. That's the really confusing thing. If they are so uncomfortable on this map, why are we playing on this map? Why is this not your first ban? And if your map pool is so shallow that you have another first ban that you feel even less comfortable on than this, then there's greater issues underneath. And Yeah, I think this is definitely telling of let's just say a particular corner that needs work. It's a little bit weird because I feel like now we're all just on the let's bash on Nordik party, but really that was kind of it was kind of embarrassing.
Not the strongest map, to say the least, but let's see how map 3 works out. We got Oregon coming up. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back in a flash. Don't go anywhere.
Really strong performance from Altiora has now propelled us to a third map. It was Nordik dominating on map number 1 in a very impressive comeback. And as for map number 2, Altiora started out the gate pretty quickly. And well, they take 7 rounds of the 9 that were played. Now we look towards Oregon, and I think it's safe to say that both of these teams have given a new look to where they were before. In terms of Nordik, their individual gun skill seems to have increased, even though their team communication and coordination on Coastline was beaten out by Altiora. But this Altiora team, I think it's safe to say, has a significantly higher skill ceiling at the moment, especially if you assume that Nordik has not taken a step back. Altiora has taken a massive step forward. And it's been a couple different performers. Michael, Guns really showed up big in map number 2. In map 1, it was Eska and Euphoria carrying the load. What do we expect on Oregon? What similarities does this map have to Consulate in map 1 or Coastline in map 2?
As maps go, this is the most dissimilar to the other two in the series. Consulate and Coastline are actually very close, typically in how they play out. They're less structure, more opportunities for your fraggers to truly shine. Oregon is a much more rigid, much more strategic map, and that's going to lock up the potential for an individual to make massive plays. It's also going to make bottlenecking much easier. So if you want to hold an Ashe or prevent an Ashe from running in through a doorway and killing 2 of your players, for example, the way that you can do that is by picking a different map, one that is a little bit more rigid like Oregon. So I think there's going to be less of that going on here, though I have been surprised so far through this series, and there's still yet chance for that surprise to rear its head here again. We'll go into the ban phase. Altiora, the first ban, we'll see what they get rid of.
And it's going to be Thatcher. So he's been banned all 3 maps now. The question is, who's going to join him? It was a Capitao ban on Consulate. It was an Ace ban on Coastline. Could we see a Maverick ban here? Could it be a Capitao ban? Could it be Ace? Who do you think? Capitao.
Just the Capitao. I wonder if it's going to be an Echo Valkyrie again, or if we're actually going to see something different. I think we maybe, if any map is going to show us something different, it would be Oregon. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Valkyrie Echo again, but yeah, Oregon is a more rigid map, and there's a lot less crazy stuff you can do with like a Valkyrie, for example. So, getting rid of Amira, I think that's really important. This last ban really could be anyone. Heck, it could be Wamai for all we know. Malusi's really good here too. There's a lot of choices, so there's nothing, we can't really pin it to anything in particular, but it's gonna be an Echo. So only one variant ban, and that's the Mira. So Valkyrie's still in play. IQ might still be necessary. Depends on what your opponent does, and we'll see what happens when we actually get into the match.
I suspect we'll see a Valkyrie. She's a very popular operator on most maps, and Oregon is no stranger to that, especially if a team wants to aggressively roam around. And there's potential to do that, especially if teams are going to defend upstairs by the double dorm / kids dorms part of the map. It's very common to see an operator up there. It doesn't matter what bomb site it's going to be that they're defending on. First defense from Altiora, it's going to be down in laundry supply room. This is the 1A to the 1B of the double dorms, kids dorms bedroom site upstairs. So laundry supply room is going to be in play, and the Clash gets 6th picked off to a Wamai, so there's going to be some utility soak applied over by the pillar if the team on attack decides to push through blue, which is a very common spot to do. Pillar is very easy to hold for a lot of teams and can be very challenging to attack for the attackers. We'll see if they're able to cut through it, or if they decide to maybe go through freezer and instead attack the front of laundry.
Elbow looks like it's going to be held here by Altiora. They'll set up the double ADS on the corner. All of the rotations are different than what we're used to seeing here on this site. Even the holes opened up are different. For example, by the A-bomb chassis, they opened on the left side instead of the right side, which means you're not going to be able to play by the bomb as safely, but it also means your rotation by laundry is a little bit safer. You know, it's win some, you lose some, you exchange. It's all up to what your team prefers. The rotation by elbow is a little bit different too, but not that much so. Overall, this looks like a pretty standard basement setup here from Altiora. No real strong variation. Doesn't look like they're going to be bringing any roamers either. They're just going to stick to that basement hold, which is something that we've seen grow more and more usual here on Oregon.
It seems to be that they're looking... Whoa, what is... There's a party in freezer right now. Goodness gracious. I was going to say, it looks like Nordik is going to aim to take control of freezer and completely bypass Pillar's control, which might be the smart move given the way that teams like to double, triple up their utility over there, whether it be barbed wire, deployable shields, Wamai's magnets, or Jaeger's ADSs. there's usually a lot that goes into that. And I mean, it should surprise nobody that Altiora's lineup includes both Jaeger and Wamai. They are very much in the meta right now, and they are absurdly strong at holding any projectiles or thrown gadgetry that might be employed by the attackers. I think the jig is up right now, as Altiora knows that Nordik's push is going to come from Freezer, so that's where Altiora is looking. They've got two separate players that are positioned for the drop hatch, with you can see magnets and ADSs right there in front of Sonar. So he is very much ready, and all those magnets and ADSs are going to be put to good use as tons of flashbangs and all that are dropped. There's also the Maestro right side by side with the smoke of Sonar, and a missed frag grenade from Lackey will claim his teammate. Not the start that Nordik wanted here.
I like the rotation of the ADSs there by Altiora. They had them originally in elbow, and it's good that they read what was happening, read the way the attack was setting up there, and adjusted them in time for them to be useful in Freezer. Not every team is capable of that. Now, Evil Eye is going to be a serious obstacle here for Nordik, even more so because of those ADSs being rotated and the magnets that keep getting thrown out by the Wamai. Lackey will eat a lot of damage there on that engagement. He dishes out a little bit, but not enough to really matter in future engagements. Gas canister goes further than it needed to. Poppy Skies has diffuser, but also only a little bit of HP. Bad timing there for the trigger on the gas canister, but the exchange is equal. Euphoria actually on the floor. S4 gets down. It's all on Poppy Skies. He needs to find 3 with a sliver of HP, though he's found himself in a great position. Gets 1. Unlikely to get the second. It's all going to come down to timing. S4 peaks and misses, but it's not going to matter because Spirits will land his shots. And Altiora will take round number 1.
Honestly comes down to a brawl, and the one thing that Altiora has been so good at on both Consulate and now Coastline is how they are able to read a setup and act on it. Even if you want to knock the defense of Altiora on Consulate, I don't think you can take away from them that they have been great through the mid-round on all of their attacks. Their attacking record right now is only 3 dropped rounds. That's it. So on defense, they held steady in comparison to Nordik. And yeah, Laundry Supply Room is a tough nut to crack, especially if you can read the way that your opponents are going to come at you. And Nordik seemed very focused on a single freezer take, and they used most of their utility to try and dislodge the players from Altiora who were playing far enough back. Now, with the freezer walls shot out, it allowed Altiora on defense to not just play inside of the freezer room itself, but play farther into the bomb site. And return fire, even if they lose control of freezer, they still haven't actually lost control of that part of the map, because they can still watch it. Whether they have a nitro cell in hand, whether they have a toxic canister in hand, it doesn't matter which operator is lined up and ready to deal with it. So hats off to them with the way that they played that. And obviously, Nordik falling short, still able to hit their shots, and it came down to a pretty close matchup. I mean, it was a 1v2 at the very end there, and could have ultimately gone either way, but Altiora had the slight edge.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds left.
Extended setup here for Altiora. You can see they're making many rotations that are not very common. They'll put one in the master closet. They'll make a line of sight through the attic wall. They're also going to reinforce and play inside of Armory with the castle barricade to assist. This is far from the normal here on the Oregon top 4 defense. Altiora seem to think they've got something new to go and contribute to comp. We'll see if that's true by the way it plays out. Based on what we've been seeing from Nordik so far on this map, I think they might be a little confused by this setup, and it's probably going to take them some time to adjust to this somewhat different play style. But I'm sure they'll figure it out eventually. It's still the same bomb site that everyone's used to attacking. Right now, Nordik's main focus is clearing out underneath. We'll see what they are able to do from below. If they can get some of the shields above them, since there's the Goyo in play, that's going to be massive. Soft destruction is good at dealing with that. They get one of them at the top of White Stairs, so there's already a big task dealt with, and that's that bottom floor control working out well for Nordik.
I think he's holding the bulletproof camera, by the way, for...
Yeah, it's a spectator bug. I mean,
So-
he might be. I mean, he might be holding it for like.
He could be holding his... Like, he could be on cams as well. It could be either of them.
Yeah, I mean, he does have it in his inventory according to the HUD. So
Yeah.
maybe he could figure out where to put it in time.
Now, even though Oregon has been changed up, there's still one thing that holds true with this map. And it's that once you lose control of this top floor, because the ways to entry are often very unfriendly, that it's challenging for you to retake. So if Nordik loses a couple bodies, they're not going to be able to push this bomb site, even if they're outnumbered. It would be extremely tough for them. So they need to ensure that they can get a pick decently early. And the person who's most ready and able to do that, it looks like, is none other than Storms. And both he and S4 are going to get in on the fun here as they find Sonar and Spirit. So the opening picks going in favor of Nordik, but they need to continue with that. There's two from Altiora to answer right back. This is huge, and Eska's also been down, finished off by Euphoria now as Eska will look to bleed out, so it's a 2v2. There goes Eska to S4. 40 seconds remaining, and Euphoria and Guns will have to tussle with the two members. Diffuser needs to be picked back up from Nordik as well. So the question is going to be, who blinks first?
Ooh, it looks like it's going to be Lackey as Euphoria lands the headshot, and that's his triple kill for the round. Now all on S4. He'll have to vault through the window, pick up that diffuser, probably most likely go for the kills. That's his only real opportunity to win this out at this point. Only 15 seconds, it's not going to be easy. Vault in, that's heard by the enemy. The rotation, not going to give him a good position. He'll be peeked by Guns in a second here and should be finished off quite easily. There it is. Guns, though, waiting. And he'll get the final kill. Altiora will take round number 2. So far, we've seen Oregon play out as is typical, really. This has been a very defender-sided affair on your standard bottom and top floor defenses. The real moment of truth is when we go to the alternative sites. That's the... Castle couldn't shoot, by the way. So I guess it wasn't a spectator bug that you noticed there, Parker. It might have been an actual bug that prevented him from operating his weapon. Anyway, what was he saying? Oh yeah, the sites that are typically won by the defense have been won by the defense. Now the alternative sites are not necessarily bad for the defenders. Those are the ones that involve kitchen. Those can be successfully defended, but I will say they certainly are not as easy to defend as the top and bottom floors.
The way that this bomb site is going to be held is actually very similar to what we just saw, with the exception of one or two of the players from Altiora being on that first floor, because there's still going to be some presence above on kids' dorms and very likely attic as well. Attic tends to be defended quite aggressively here on this map, and I would not be surprised to see Altiora do that, as it's very standard stuff. Now, the bomb sites that we see on this bottom floor are meeting hall to kitchen or kitchen to mess hall / cafeteria, depending on what you want to call it. The meeting hall tends to be more defendable because you're going to hold attic, and then you can't really take underneath until you take control of attic, because that hatch that you see right now in attic can be popped out. You need to be very wary of what happens with it. Additionally, attackers are going to want to take these double paneled walls that are being reinforced by spirits right now. Instead of bothering to open it up, though, like a lot of teams would do, most teams tend to reinforce it. And that's what Altiora will do. They can still rotate down if they want to, but back tower, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be the main spot that we see Nordik try to poke first. They have a Maverick and they have an Ace, so there's a lot that they can do. They'll be able to punish the back tower however they see fit, with plenty of hard destruction.
Is back tower small tower or big tower?
Back tower would be big tower.
Okay, that makes sense. Oh, that's a nice...
I think there was a Selma that was just taken out, by the way.
Yeah, that was a nice pick there from Guns to get rid of that Selma. That gives Altiora some serious utility advantage. That's gonna hinder the hard destruction potential of the attack. They do still have the Maverick, so anything they really need open, they'll be able to get open. And there's another Selma there, placed on the same meeting wall. You can see that Nordik want to plant just inside a meeting. That's why they're leaving the diffuser in the doorway to the garage, so that when that push eventually does come, diffuser's where it ought to be. But they're going to also want to likely open up the meeting wall, which will allow them to keep a crossfire in meeting and facilitate that plant. They also need to worry about, or by they, I mean Nordik, of course, they need to worry about the roamers, and that's what's going on up here. Eska will eat a lot of damage from Storms. Nice line of sight there for Storms. These are holes that were opened up by the defenders, now working against them.
So after damage is done to Eska, they'll go on to drones. This is what I talked about with the way that the defenders will hold above. It gives them map control not on that second floor, but also down below. As you can see, certain openings are there. Sonar falls to skies, so the Maverick comes in, does a little bit of damage. Hasn't touched his torch just yet, so there's still an objective for him to get to. But you might as well kill ahead of time, and down goes Sonar. Spirits will join him in the afterlife, as that's the ace of Bozak. Both of the hard breachers now finding the board here in round number 3. Storm's taking a bit of damage, and, well, there'll have to be a bit of a hurry if you're Nordik, because while you're just winnowing down your opponents, there's still time on the clock. Not a lot of it. Diffuser being planted, and it seems to be falling off as the Maestro is all but lost at the back of the stage. Eska finds a kill onto Bozak, leaving Altiora with the castle as the lone hope, and he has very limited HP. He sees the diffuser, though. Well, we need to be very careful of where he gets pressured from, because the entire floor beneath him is being watched. There goes the diffuser. It's the magic disappearing act, and the UMP in hand. This will be a tough job for Eska. Diffuser goes down successfully. He sees the Zofia, removes the head of Storms, looks for another, pre-fires into the wall, but can't find the target just yet. Both remaining members of Nordik know exactly where the castle's going to come from, and a single bullet will tag him and do enough damage. What a play by Eska. Onto Skies, looking for another. He's getting spam marked, trying to light up the Nomad. Can he win this fight? No, he can't. S4 outlasts him, and Nordik finds their first round here on Oregon.
Oh boy, that was a serious nail biter there. Right at the end, it looked like Eska was going to be able to clutch it out, but just not enough gas in the tank. The real problem there for Eska was that he would have died to one bullet no matter what, so he had to be incredibly safe while challenging those fights. But he managed to get some very clean ones there. Almost. What a shame for Altiora. Still, though, Altiora seems the dominant team, regardless of the fact that Nordik got those early kills, they got the control that they wanted, they got the holes open that they needed, and everything looked like it was going well. That was a 1v1 at the very end, and that, I think, speaks volumes to the dominance that we are seeing on display here from Altiora. Also, very importantly, they're going to be able to go back to their favorite bomb sites now. The bottom floor and the top floor are opened back up. Well, the bottom floor for now. The top floor will open up next round. That's the important thing. They're going to open back up as they are needed now for Altiora, and that's going to give them probably another 2 rounds based on what we've been seeing so far. And when Altiora gets back to that offsite, whether it be meeting or dining, whichever one they choose, I think there's going to be a little bit more confidence in just taking the fights based on what we just saw from the castle. I mean, rounds like that, even if you're not winning them, it's still bolstering the confidence of your teammates in you, and thus the confidence of your teammates in themselves, as they know that they are on the same squad with you, they belong there, and they've got the same potential bundled up inside of them. So, good round there from Nordik to get there first. They really needed it, but still Altiora in the driver's seat.
This is defense on Oregon. It does tend to lean towards the defense right now in what has been an otherwise attacker-sided day between all of these teams and on all these maps, though Consulate and Coastline certainly do allow for lots of opportunity for the killing to happen, as we see. Oregon is the same, so you can expect that there will be lots of fragging here, and Nordik are finding their guns significantly better than they did on Coastline, that's for sure, even though they are not winning right now, and they now lost Lackey. As it's a rush that does not pay off, Storms finds one, but he's dispatched as well. So everything working in favor of Altiora, who will survive that early push.
I have to say, that's incredibly clever there from Lackey. If you notice what he just saw, see how there's ADSs on this wall? They're almost always placed on this wall, directly where that one is. Usually there's 2 of them stacked there. So you can't put the Ash Charge directly on the shield because it's placed further back on the corner, so you can't get it direct. But Lackey didn't hit the shield direct. He threw his Ash Charge on the wall in front of the shield, knowing that the explosive radius would encompass the shield and destroy it. That allowed for the push into elbow. And even though Nordik ended up losing more than they gained there, it's still very clever and worth noting.
You can't play around this bomb chassis anymore as well. This is something that really hasn't come up in any of the casting that you and I have done. You used to be able to play around it. No longer the case. It is completely solid. So
it's fat now. It's big,
yeah,
big
it's a thick boy.
Thick
so
bomb.
You have to look elsewhere. This same laundry supply room defense is going to play out a little bit differently. Nordik decided to attack from over by blue. in this case, the freeze or hold that we saw from Altiora might not be as important because of it.
Ooh, okay, so I thought that Nordik would have given up on elbow control, but they've actually brought Skies back. Spirits is playing on the corner. Now, he's been a consistent performer here for Altiora, so this is dangerous. ADS getting cleared out so the nade can land. Here comes the nade, and down goes Spirits. Good coordination there from Nordik to get elbow control. Now, there is another player. It's Eska trying to hold just outside of elbow, and the nade will push him into a corner. That's going to allow full elbow control for Nordik if they choose to push into it. But Skies is playing very passively right now, not trying to give any opportunity to his opponent.
20 seconds left, do or die here for Nordik. If Altiora takes this, then they can at worst tie this half. So they'll wait for now, but I think there's very much stall-out potential here from Nordik. They cannot read the defense that Altiora has in front of them. They'll creep around instead with Skies attempting the plant. We'll see if the coverage is good enough. Caught from the back, one goes down and looks for another as S4's boxing them all out. But for some reason, he gets stopped. Is it the toxic canister knocking him down? Altiora ends up taking the round by the final second. Talk about by a hair. What a round that is for Altiora, and they are up 3-1.
That bodes well for Nordik. At the same time, we're seeing both of these teams start to come alive. Where Coastline was a one-sided trouncing, this map certainly looking a lot more like map number 1, and that is encouraging. Now, that was a very interesting round. I think it was the gas canister, Parker, as you noted, that did get the down on the planter. Unfortunate there, truly, for Nordik. They almost got that comeback in the same way that Eska almost got his in the previous round. At the same time, the utility play there from Altiora, definitely better than usual. And also, I want to give some credit where credit is due. S4 in particular, he had a really bad map on Coastline. And I think his game sense has been a lot better here on Oregon. He seems a lot more aware of the problems he's going to be confronted with, and he's timing his pushes and his peaks very well, not giving too many opportunities to the opponent. So big ups to him for correcting his, I guess, lines on the road. Now, Altiora still in control, but clearly these rounds are being won by a thread, and that's very crucial here. Nordik have to have in their mind, we could be winning these, and that's going to keep this match alive.
This rotation is going to continue here, and unless something breaks, then, well, Altiora will be in prime position. I don't know if there was an issue with the castle. We talked about this last time. We weren't entirely sure if something had gone wrong with him or not, so there might be one extra gun added to the arsenal of Altiora if Eska is capable of actually using his weapon this time.
We'll see. I mean, Eska's had some really good moments. He almost had that one clutch. He was so close. Yeah.
Eska finds one, though, already on the Lackey, and they'll lose guns from inside of Armory as both teams trade out a member with 30 seconds off of the clock. So very early action here. Nice shot being praised onto Eska, who will walk away. He's taken a bit of damage, but ultimately not that much. That was a risky play from Guns to try and get somebody off the upside-down rappel by Armory window. It ultimately didn't prove to be successful, and the Jaeger was able to play off of the clock, but 30 seconds is really all they were able to get from it. Not exactly the result that I'm sure that they wanted out of Guns in that spot, but he tried as best as he could.
This extended hold has not wasted too much time, and as you mentioned, Parker, it's down to Guns getting picked off. That's really the main problem here for Altiora. I think that Altiora probably should have had more support for Guns so that if he died, someone could retake his position. Because now it's all but lost their positioning. Down goes the shield to an explosive downstairs. That was Storms using his lifeline. His lackey's already been eliminated. Couldn't have been him. Plus, he would have heard the sound. Now, the breach is open. Again, it was opened by the defenders. They were trying to use it to support the Armory hold. So everything is going wrong here for Altiora. Yeah, they got that early pick onto Lackey, but it was refragged immediately. And oh no, the timing for Euphoria. That is the worst feeling when you're holding an angle and then suddenly you come off it and it gets peaked. That could have been another pick for Altiora, and it could have put them in a great spot, but not to be, I guess.
I really like the pacing that Nordik has right now. There's still a minute to go, and they can snap into this bomb site and attempt the plan. I don't know if Altiora has juggled their utility well enough, so We'll see what Nordik can come up with here. It is a stalemate in terms of numbers. That 2 deaths in the first 30 seconds is really all that happened. All the rest of it has been discovery, cutting through utility, and then trying to make your way into the site. Spirits tries to run back in, and he gets found by S4, and the next one on deck, while Storms is going to assume his position. He's wandered right in, and he sees one, takes down Eska. Now inside of Games Room, looking for another. Almost some damage done to his teammate. Sky's getting choked out from that gas canister. They'll need to attempt the plant as he now finds safety in the corner. This will push Altiora out right into the waiting arms of Nordik, and they have a total advantage here. Diffuser down, and Euphoria will be the only one for Altiora to try to outlast the remaining members. A beautiful shot on S4, but he's got 3 more to go. 15 seconds off of that diffuser, a nitro cell expended, and will find Storms. A great toss. Still 2 more. Skies is only 1 HP, so this is winnable, but Euphoria will need to juggle the clock. That's his bigger adversary. A pre-fire shot, but he's going to be very exposed if he attempts to go for the diffuser, and you can see from the outlines of Nordik that they are lined up perfectly ready. Almost past the point of no return here for Euphoria. You can just feel the heartbreak on behalf of Altiora, and they will lose the round as it's Nordik bursting on in after cutting through the utility, pulling off the plant, and then going from there.
That is truly sad to witness. It's the same sort of feeling that we got when Eska was in his almost clutch but just couldn't land the last kill. Here now, it's Euphoria. Now, we've had this 2 times for Altiora, and 2 times Nordik have managed to just barely shave off rounds. Crucially, this time, it was on a top floor defense. That is a terrible situation. You do not want to be dropping your primary bomb sites. And that setup did not work out well for Altiora now the second time around, since it's been read by Nordik. They are aware of what's happening. They know about the extension, and again, that early pick onto the Jaeger, so problematic. Well, we'll see if Altiora can change things up. It looks like, based on that shield placement right early on, it looks like they're going to go for a more standard setup. We'll know for sure once we see if Guns reinforces both of the closet walls, or if he opens up, or rather lets his teammate open up the other. Yep, Altiora are changing. They went for their pocket strat 2 times. It worked the first, not the second. They'll adjust now. This is the smart move from Altiora. Love to see this adaptation being shown.
Both of these teams proving that they're quite evenly matched here on this map. As Consulate went down to the wire, Coastline was an absolutely incredible map for Altiora, and I think it's some of the most dominant that we've seen on a single map from Altiora in terms of what they were able to do. Scoreline be damned. Oregon, well, they've been caught in the mucky muck. They managed to take 3 rounds, as we said, which is good, but Nordik have certainly risen to the occasion, and they have shown that they still very much have a pulse. They were not just a corpse after that second map. That's why there are 3 maps, and it's not unusual in a best of 3 to see a team be completely unprepared for one of the maps and then still bounce back. That's the beauty of the best of 3 system. We could end up with a total reset here if Nordik prevails on this round, and will set us up for the final 6 rounds, plus overtime if need be, with neither team having a distinct advantage. So it will have essentially been half an hour for us to be right back at square one.
I'm really curious to see what's going to happen when Nordik gets onto defense. Because unlike Coastline, I think that the half swap is going to make a major difference here. And I want to see what that, if Altiora can, I guess, get over that difference when they now have to attack. Oregon is not an easy map to attack on. Let's be clear about that. So, dealing with that, especially with the Thatcher ban, it's hard for anyone. The fact that Nordik has managed to get 2 rounds is pretty good. If they can get a 3rd, then that's amazing.
I genuinely have no idea which team is going to win this map right now.
Yeah, I mean, which is a stark contrast compared to previous maps.
On Consulate at the start, I was like, wow, Altiora is doing really well. They're going to do great. They're going to win this. And then Nordik came back, and I was like, oh, snap. Nordic's better. And then they win. And then on Coastline, you're like, wow, Altiora is just crushing them. And then they continue to do so.
We don't talk about Coastline, Parker.
No, we do not. Spirit's first kill of the very final defense for Altiora as he takes out Lackey. The Ash Not exactly the best on this map, though was quite impactful on Consulate on that sledge roll. Obviously, things have been changed up just a little bit. This isn't where Nordik wants to be. They don't want to be trailing, knowing how much is on the line in this round. But they at least answer back, and they silence Eska, who's been a standout performer for Altiora, making his Canada Division debut alongside Euphoria.
Look at the time. 30 seconds, 4v4. This does not bode well for Nordik. They've got the setup, but do they have the explosive capabilities? That's the real question. You can see that Spirits is aware of the push here from the Zofia, peeks into it, and loses the fight to Storms. That's crucial. That means White Stairs control is lost for Altiora. They're going to have to keep their eyes on it throughout the remainder of this round. But there's not much remaining in this round. Gas has left the tank, and, well, the attack's going to run on fumes if they don't get started here on the assault. Storms will exchange there with guns. 2v2. The man count is constantly intertwined with their opponent's man count. Cover here from Storms. He lands the first, but not the second. The timing's going to be crucial, and it's not enough. Euphoria clutches it out, gets the last 2 kills, and Altiora will take the final round of the first half.
Just to add insult to injury, at least they let Nordik think that they were able to pull off that diffuser, but Euphoria brings them in and then throws them away. They build them up, then knock them down. Whatever. Cliche. Whatever you want to use. Go right ahead.
That's kind of a play on the name Euphoria a little bit. I like that. It's clever.
Thank you, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Nordic's turn to go onto defense. And Altiora, they're going to show the Montaigne. This is an interesting one. Laundry supply room being the default bomb site for a lot of teams. We refer to it as a 1A, 1B, but let's not kid ourselves. It is usually used more often than anything else. So the Zoe coming in for the Montaigne. Of course. Of course. It'd be weird to see a laundry supply room without a Zofia, so... And I think Nordik probably knew that as well. If you're bringing a Monty, you're going to be ignoring some of that utility. I mean, if you're not bringing flashbangs, what good are ADSs and magnets, right? If you're not bringing frag grenades, what good are they as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I think the way that, you know, there's different kinds of operators in Siege. There's the ones that have good utility and nothing else, and then there's the ones that have good utility and good kit. Good kit consists of weapon, speed, armor, C4, you know, etc. So all those other little prongs, that's what makes an operator versatile and makes them a common pick in competitive play. Because if you're bringing, for example, an IQ, why exactly, when an Echo is banned, why will many teams often also ban the Valkyrie? Is it because they want to get rid of both? Sure, yeah, that's part of it. But it's also because if they get rid of both, they don't need to bring the IQ. And bringing the IQ is a very specific piece of utility that is not necessarily always useful outside of that. She can't bring the stuns that you might want. She does have a G8. She's a 3-speed. That's great. But you can bring so much more if you just get rid of those operators. So the weights and balances of that whole equation are always really interesting to watch. And right now, usually, it's just more stuns, more explosives. But yeah, I mean, you can bring a Montaigne and just walk up on them, or you can bring a lot of other tools to circumvent the whole system altogether.
So things are going to be a little bit different for Altiora when it comes to how they're attacking here, as their focus is going to be on over towards blue instead of Freezer, which was the first part of the map that was tackled by Nordik when they were on attack. And Lackey shrugging off some damage playing behind this Goyo shield, as that should be all the magnets and ADSs that were placed in front of them in blue eaten up. It looks like there might be one magnet remaining that's on the left side of bunker, as it's referred to as, blue bunker. We'll wait and see if anything comes of that. But Altiora, who had stacked up multiple operators at the front of blue, have now decided to go elsewhere, leaving Spirits all on their lonesome. It's a strong spot for the Wamai to be in, by the way, as he can just continue to huck out those magnets. And Nordik have positioned themselves so they can still hold Freezer if they want to, but Altiora is going to have a very difficult task of taking over Pillar right now. Spirits has been joined by none other than Guns. And there goes one of the magnets as Spirits looking to try to get the barbed wire. I don't think they were expecting that to be there.
They just did that reinforcement to bait Altiora into pushing into Elbow. I think it was a fake out reinforcement too. They didn't finish it. And the bait didn't work, obviously, because the barbed wire was still up, so the timing wasn't there for Nordik. But a nice try to try and bait the attack into the Wamai, who was still inside of Elbow. This time they finished the reinforcement, though. With only a minute left in the round, just getting it done might be the right call, as it's going to make this clear a little bit more time-intensive for the attack.
Cutting open the walls here, trying to pop the pressure blister that is the defense as the first kill goes in favor of Altiora. As Lackey goes down, and now S4 is finished off as well. Sounded like a Nitro Cell got tossed out, but wasn't able to do too much, as you can still see Eska just sitting in this position, watching, waiting very intently. Sonar's the one holding on to that diffuser as Spirits falls, leaving Nordik still trailing, but with at least a little bit more skin in the game. Waiting to see if anybody's going to try to get this diffuser down. Great patience from Nordik. They are not moving a muscle and using their utility as they need to. Gas canister goes off to try and, I guess, convince Altiora to wait a little bit longer. And the clock is not on their side, but a frag grenade goes down in front of Bozak. He'll lose Skies as the grenade wasn't cooked well enough. Nitro Cell goes out and Altiora cleans up. They'll sweep through the bomb site, and with it, they'll take their 5th round, only 2 away from conquering this matchup.
That is a massive win there for the attack for Altiora. They certainly looked pretty solid after they cleared out blue. I think the patience on Altiora is the main thing there, because as you saw, we didn't actually see the actual kills, but we saw the result of the kills in the kill feed. Eska, in particular, what was he doing to get all those picks? Man was just chilling by pillar, playing the angles that were available to him. Nordik were giving themselves away, one kill after another. Eska lapping that up, saying, "Thank you, can I please have some more?" And he was given more. Those entry picks really did soften the defense to the point of no return, and considering the angle cutoffs were established very well by the Maverick, and the picks and everything, all the layers, they all just culminated in a pretty substantial win there for Altiora. And I think one that defies the norm for this map so far, as that was not just a win, it was a really one-sided win, and one that must instill a certain sense of confidence in the attack. Now, Nordik is not out of this by any means, but it is starting to get a little bit scary here. Despite the fight that they've been putting up, they really do need to start winning more on defense. Defense is the half, again, that on this map is favored. You would expect them to win sides like the bottom floor.
5 seconds left before insertion.
One thing that will hold up, at least through that one round, was that Altiora do look very poised on attack, which is the trend that we've seen so far today. It was prevalent on Consulate, it was prevalent on Coastline, and it is still very much here as well on Oregon. So hats off to Altiora. You know, they went through some pretty significant changes. Roster swap, role swap. Trying to compete with U.S. Division teams in various scrimming against other Canadian Division teams, and yet they could have very easily taken this and used it as more of a test, but they didn't at all. And in fact, they are rising to the occasion against what is, I would say at the end of the previous stage, I would say was the second best Canadian team in Nordik. Altiora very much have improved, and their changes I like very much. Eska and Euphoria in particular have been on roles where they've been engaged in early action, which is a big part of why their stats have been so good. These have not been impactless kills, but more than anything, Euphoria and Eska they've been consistent so far.
Yeah, I think that is the key, isn't it? Because we've looked at now 3 maps where those 2 players really stand out as individuals, and it's always great to see, even on the maps where Altiora, even on the map where Altiora was losing Consulate, the very first one, Euphoria and Eska were dropping big kills. So that's very encouraging when you're coming into your first big match with those players. So yeah, good to see. Happy for Altiora that they seem to be in a good spot right now. Well, Skies is looking to apply pressure to the Zofia. He can hear and see. Gas canister will do it, and that's going to push guns off of Green Hall. He'll have to fall back to tower. Actually gives him an opportunity, though, because he's going to be able to open up the attic. They haven't opened up the meeting wall, either. They could do that as well. But they're going to try and Maverick it. You can do that. You can cut a square in a wall. No need for soft destruction, but it's so dangerous, and that's why you don't see it done very often. Sonar's doing it right now, though.
He's very close to being able to open it all up, and that will immediately put S4 in the line of fire. as there's a frag grenade waiting to go. But unfortunately for Altiora, they have not cleared out all the ADSs. They'll huck in a bunch of flashbangs. That deployable shield should go down. It looks like some damage may be done to Storms at the same time. Not a lot of time left, speaking of. So this is going to be rough for Altiora to pull off, as they are very much at a deficit when it comes to the clock. And in the corner is none other than the smoke of Skies. He could play a game of peekaboo right now around this bomb chassis and do some massive damage to Altiora. Shotgun in hand, and there he goes. He gets away with one, but it's S4 to clean up with 2 big kills, looking to prolong this one. 3 kills for the Maestro, but then immediately Altiora respawns. They find 3 kills of their own. Down everybody goes. It's Spirits in a 1v1, but he'll have to plant. Storms has the C4 lined up, and there it goes, but doesn't do enough. Not at all. Spirits will be able to get off with the diffuser down and will be in a 1v1 showdown against the Kaid with diffuser planted. This should not have happened at all for Altiora. They should have lost this round. Yet here we are. 30 seconds to go for Nordik to try to find the remaining member of Altiora. He will have to go for the diffuser, shoots into a body. That sound will be crucial, though, for Spirits, who now knows that the Kaid is inside a meeting hall. He's going to be making a ton of noise. He has 0 intel. None whatsoever. Spirits knows that there's so little time left. He's going to try to make noise, and the Kaid gets knocked over. Only 1 second. Match point in favor of Altiora, kill or not. Spirits finishes it off. 1 round away from Altiora taking the match.
Let's go, Spirits. Big round there. And for those of you wondering what happened with that C4, it hit the front of the sandbags. It wasn't a bug. It wasn't a problem. It just didn't land where it needed to land, it looks like, based on the explosive radius. That is truly unfortunate. A little bit higher, a little bit further there from the C4, and Spirits is not afforded the opportunity to clutch that one out. Further, the round and the way it was playing out, it should have certainly been a Nordik round. Let's be clear about that. Nordik not only stopped the push in through the tower, but they punished it so severely they effectively stopped it cold in its tracks. The only reason why Altiora was able to take that was, number 1, Spirits on the clutch action doing well, and number 2, very importantly, the flank from the main lobby from Altiora. The fact that they had a 2-prong attack there is crucial. Many teams would not have had that flank in position. So props to Altiora for a great play in that round. We match point. This is looking like it's going to be locked out quite swiftly, as Nordik have not been able to find anywhere they're comfortable on defense. Even the basement, which they did technically win, they didn't look very comfortable.
Now, that round, honestly, that's a heartbreaker for Nordik. That really should have been their round, and you know that it was lined up as best as it could, but it's just an inch too short. Frustrating, no doubt, for Nordik, as they probably... I would have loved to have heard the comms. I was going to say they were probably very angry, but I would have loved to have heard the comms on that play, because I can just imagine the frustration that would have been voiced.
Probably a lot, yeah. I mean, they've got to be exasperated at this point after a round like that. Nordik has come so close, yet been at the same time so far many times through this map, and I think at this point it's got to get to them.
This has been a really incredible performance from Altiora, especially given that they basically blew up this team and changed so much about it. Like I said, they could have very easily treated it as a learning experience, which I'm sure they are. But expectations for this match in particular could have been significantly lowered due to the fact that they made so many changes. And the meta has shifted a little bit as well. It's not exactly the same as it was earlier on. So this could have been Nordik saying, okay, well, we got it. We got this in the bag. Nothing's going to slow us down. Not the case. Altiora has risen to the occasion and then some, and they find themselves only a single round away as they are doing masterfully on attack, as we have come to expect. Calculated aggression and good strategy has been the name of the game for this Altiora squad thus far, and they only need to do it one more time to secure their victory here. They're going to push on over from Attic, as it's a double dorms defense from Nordik, and they're going to hinge their match on this bomb site.
Well, it's now an Attic and Armory side split push. You can see the attackers outside Attic trying to push up to the Armory Hall window. There's Lackey playing in Armory. Now, his job is to delay as long as possible. He only has 1 kill in this entire map, but if he can just stay alive, then all is well. That is his entire job right now. The longer he does it, the better for his team. Here comes the vault. They actually didn't even think there was anyone in Armory, it seems, as he's been kind of ignored, and the attack will be taking control of Master in an attempt to gain control of the site by extension. Eska will get Poppy Skies. Storms responds directly onto Spirits. Eska down as he attempts to flood into the site with the rest of his team. And this flood is not working well for the attack. It's going about even, but mostly it's Nordik finding themselves in the advantage. Storms is looking the wrong way. Guns is flanking him right now from the attic, but whether or not he's going to peek the right corner is a different story entirely. Euphoria peeking from the main window, and he'll do some damage, but Storms flicks onto Guns, winning an unbelievable engagement. Euphoria only needs to land 1 bullet onto each, but it's not going to matter as Bozak will land the headshot, and Nordik take another defensive round, or actually their first real defensive round here on the top floor.
And that is only Nordic's 4th defensive victory of this entire series, Michael. Just to put into perspective how utterly dominant Altiora has been on attack.
Yeah.
And I mean, it goes both ways. Number one, there are weaknesses in Nordic's defense. It's very fair to say that given what we've seen, especially with some of the attacks that we witnessed on Coastline, with Altiora being able to pinpoint the blind spots from Nordik and then take full advantage of that. Fly in, get a couple kills, overwhelm them. You referred to it as a flood call. We've seen that continue on Oregon as well, though it was shut down a lot quicker. And Storms gets credit for that, so hats off to him. But Altiora have been a very sharpened sword so far on attack. I don't know if the comms are off on Nordik. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, or maybe they just thought that they'd counter-stratted Altiora and things are not going according to plan. If you counter-stratted this old Altiora squad that used to have Shima and Dot Dash on it, well, and maybe you're expecting something entirely different and it's hard for you to recover. I'm not sure. I'm not in whatever voice server they're using to communicate. I can't tell you exactly what's going through their heads. But what I can tell you is that I have been impressed with the changes that have been made from Altiora, and they look like they are not just reacting well as a team, but we've also seen good and strong individual performances through the mid-round on every single attack on every single map so far that we've seen of them.
Basement defense North. Storms goes for the 360 run out. Pre-fires before anyone could actually be there. He's just memeing. Spirits is trying to catch him in the meme, but it's just a second off. The timing with the way that planned out would give no opportunity for either player to get a kill, so it looked intense. There's really nothing going on there. Bozak and Storm's now going to try and hold on to blue. Stun's coming in to clear out close ADSs. The Stun's established there are no close ADSs. That means the thing on the wall where you act the wall and get the shield is doable. Shield number 1 goes down. That's Bozak's, and he'll have to rotate as a result. Blackie holding onto pillar, though, so there's no major pressure onto the site. And you've got this hole in the Xbox wall, which is going to allow for some pressure onto Bunker.
By the way, Skies is using the new NA League skin for Smoke, and all regions now have a skin available. You've got Blitz for APAC North. You've got Caveira for LATAM. You've got Smoke for NA, and then I'm forgetting EUs.
It's slipping my mind too. Oh, Twitch. It's Twitch.
Yes, it's Twitch. That is correct.
And hers looks really cool too.
Hers looks great. And the proceeds are split up. They go to supporting Rainbow Six Esports. So make sure that if you want to pick them up, you go do so, because you're able to help us out. And we really appreciate that. So thank you.
Direct contribution.
Almost like crowdsourcing to a certain extent.
Not
quite, but
not
close
quite.
enough.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Almost. The pressure right now, the focus of the pressure is onto Pillar here from Altiora. They need to dislodge the Roamer in Pillar. It seems they've done a decent job of doing that. Yeah, it looks like the defenders have mostly fallen off. They're still playing at the entranceway to the hall, and that's dangerous. S4, once he moves, okay, yeah, no more Pillar presence for the defense. That allows Altiora to take control of Pillar, and that will give a really good position over to the attack. I don't know that Nordik really needed to give that up, and it could be, actually, the difference maker here. The cross is successful for Spirits. That's huge. Elbow control now for Altiora, and there's no way that that wall is getting reinforced. That could be, well, we were talking about difference makers. That might be just it.
And it's a showdown that'll happen over the final 45 seconds with Sonar going on in, shooting out the ADSs. He's got frag grenades ready as he's cut open enough of the wall to allow the Hibana line of sight on in. She's used all of her flashes, so what is she going to do? Well, she's going to get tangled up in connector right now. There goes a toxic canister to stop the members from Altiora from being able to break on in. Another deployable shield looks to be getting in the way of anything that Eska could see. Bozak taking a bit of damage. Diffuser will need to be planted by Sonar. Pre-fire over towards Freezer as more members of Nordik are losing their HP, but there's a stack up from Altiora and they might be stalling out. But Euphoria will come alive too. Big kills for him. Downed his guns. Euphoria gone now as well. Eska finds some fun and Diffuser is on. There's the final kill from Sonar. And what a performance from Altiora it is. They get the last laugh in this revenge match. It was Nordik to take the first one, but Altiora has the last laugh. And they take Oregon 7-3.
That was a massive kill there from Spirits on Elbow. That kill made the difference in the round. So with Elbow, there's a few things that you want as a defender. You want either to leave while surviving and just waste some time, get a kill or two from that corner, or just outright prevent the attack from pushing it through the entire round. You got a lot of different options, but the worst possible scenario is your defender in Elbow gets picked, not getting a kill, not wasting time, and then you don't have time to reinforce Elbow, denying it to the attack. That was huge. Let's bring Jackie into the conversation and see what she thinks about all this.
Hi, I'm here. Yay, I know you're all excited. Woo. Okay, so Altiora taking the W there. This is actually really funny. Their coach Bandit tweeted at me a photo of Spirit, and I guess I called him Sprite once.
Really?
Do you guys remember that? Did I call him Sprite?
Yes, I think Kix called him that as well at one point.
Okay, well, they tweeted out a photo with a Sprite bottle, and anyway, they got their revenge today. They did well today, but we got... I don't remember doing it either, but apparently it happened.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it happened. But anyways, that was kind of off topic here. We got the highlights rolling. I want to talk to you guys. Obviously, Altiora made changes. There's been meta changes, but and Tara, you were saying they rose to the occasion. What do you think they did well that helped them succeed today?
Well, they played a lot better as a team, whereas before I would say that their squad was dominated by strong individual performances. This was a team effort. And, you know, you had a couple players who couldn't find the scoreboard in various maps, but it didn't matter because they played their part really well. You know, your underperformers on Altiora, for the most part, were on the right roles on which you can underperform. I think the only real exception to that was Guns having a really rough first map on Consulate. But other than that, the right players were there at the right times. And you know what? We highlighted Euphoria and Eska an awful lot, but to step in and have such a dramatic and immediate impact as they did is huge. This is a team that is still trying to find their way. They're adapting to roster moves. They're adapting to role swaps. They're adapting to a slightly new meta. They have to adapt to the things that their opponents are bringing their way, and yet they did so with 2 new members, 3 technically, because Mizio's not on the squad either anymore. They did so in very impressive fashion.
I don't know if you all just saw that Sprite bottle in their team cam.
Yeah, I did.
Sorry, I still can't get over it. That's funny. Sorry, Spirit. I can't believe I called you Sprite. But all right, Kix, I want to pick your brain about what you thought Altiora did really well, because you know at the beginning we were all leaning towards Nordik. So obviously they adjusted to the changes and they performed today.
If the teams were the same teams, I think the leaning would still be towards Nordik. But Euphoria and Eska, Euphoria and Eska, Euphoria and Eska. Now, it's not just that they performed consistently, as we talked about during the map, and performed well as individuals, but it's also the fact that it seemed like they were enabling their teammates. I think that's admirable. Because we saw a better overall performance out of Altiora than we've seen from them before. So I'm happy for them that they've got a roster that they now seem very comfortable with. And I'm encouraged by the fact that they had not only a good performance overall for this, for today, but one that I think could be launched into a much brighter future as a team for tomorrow.
So I think Kix said this on the last map, but Nordik was so close but still so far. What did they not execute well on? What do they need to powwow about after today in Tiro?
I mean, it didn't seem like they were on the same page, especially on defense. And I pointed it out in the matchup. I think that communication was their biggest weakness. There were lots of times where Altiora would dive in and get a pick and then would have time to get a second pick off of that. And it looked like Nordik were lost in regards to where Altiora were coming from. Now, obviously, when you're playing at this level, there's a limitation to how quickly you can make a certain call. Fair enough. But there were some times where it certainly seemed like Nordik should have been able to relay where Altiora was, doing their entry work from, and not just maybe refrag their opponent, but at least be prepared for it, because too many times Nordik players were dying with their backs turned. Altiora shouldn't be able to just walk right in and take full advantage of that, like your defense like that, like they did a number of times.
Okay, Kix, what are you thinking that Nordik needs to improve on?
I think that they need to figure out their defaults. The responsibility of individual players does not seem to be well established in the team. If nobody's holding service entrance, then someone's going to walk through service entrance from the other team. Like that's going to happen. So I know that, prep phases can run long. I know that there are, roamers who are going to be repositioning and doing different stuff at the early stages of the round. I know that rushes can just seize upon opportunities. I know that I get that happens. But what that is a wake-up call to, okay, we need to be more diligent. Not only in the early round, but just in general, there needs to be more diligence, I think, on defense specifically for Nordik, in holding defaults and understanding the way that the angles work with each other. If you're playing inside a hookah, you need to hold on to not only the VIP hallway with your teammate from base, but also onto billiards with your teammate from pink bar. Understanding this dynamic and just prioritizing staying alive in that scenario is a big difference maker. There's so many other things, but that's the baseline that I think that Nordik need to walk on to go ahead and improve for the future.
Okay, and I want to see what y'all think. Obviously, Mirage seemed pretty dominant to me during stage 1. Now we got a peek at Altiora and Nordik. How do you think the Canadian division is shaping up now? Do we still think Mirage is going to be very dominant, or do we think that these two teams could give them a run for their money? Intero?
I am less confident in Nordik now than I was before. I think there was a very real possibility that after their matchup against Mirage that Nordik had a shot at being able to take on Mirage. But I will say Mirage impressed me an awful lot with the way that they went through the North American League qualifiers for the NA Major, and Mirage seemed to have improved considerably, especially with how they matched up against DZ and then that Tempo Storm match. So I think Mirage is continuously improving, and I have no doubt that they will likely give the fire to Livid in the matchup next week. With that said, I think Altiora played quite convincingly today, but we saw different sides of Altiora before where a player or two would show up big and they would compete really well. I mean, their matchup against Mirage went the distance, if we recall. Could it happen again? Absolutely. And I think that right now, Mirage versus Altiora in terms of a rematch is a very real possibility. The question is this a flash in the pan for Altiora? It's really hard to make that call off of a single matchup, but I would put good money on the fact that Altiora are a better team right now than they were at any point previously, and that could be trouble for Mirage.
Okay. Kickstarter, what's your perspective when it comes to that? Again, we just got to see Nordik and Altiora. Can they give Mirage a run for their money?
Well, I think Mirage is still going to be the team to beat. I am certainly looking forward to what I think most would anticipate being a Mirage-Altiora match later down the line in Stage 2. No, that's not a guaranteed thing. That means that Mirage, they have to win their next match. But if they do, if we get there, I think that would be pretty exciting to watch. I think Altiora is looking a lot stronger than we've ever seen them be before. And one thing I will say is that there were a lot of mistakes made by Altiora, don't get me wrong, but there was no glaring issue that is so debilitating to their chances that you're gonna point it out and be like, well, this is really problematic. Even on the map where we saw them lose, Altiora looked pretty solid. On Consulate, they were pretty close to bringing that one to their favor. So as they elaborated on their potential over over Coastline and on Oregon, finally, I think that it's been shown now, and it looks like Altiora is pretty concrete as a team. Though, as Parker mentioned, it's just one match, so we're gonna have to wait on that final call. But yeah, no, I'd say Mirage is still, based on my expectations, they're still the team. But who knows? Maybe Altiora is now a serious challenger.
Okay, and we had the bracket up just a few minutes ago, and it showed Mirage versus Livid. So I want to pick your brains about how you think that's going to go down. And Tara, why don't you start?
Well, Livid made 2 roster changes, one of which brought in Brian, and I think that Livid earned the title of weakest team previously in the Canada division, and I think it was a well-earned title, frankly. They did not have a very good run of their first couple matches. I think things will likely turn around now that they have made 2 important changes, and I would imagine that we're going to see some role swaps happen as well. Is that enough to put them on the same level as Mirage, a team that very convincingly held their own in a number of maps in those NA major qualifiers? Frankly, I would say probably not. I still think Mirage is the heavy favorite in that match.
Okay, and gentlemen, this just coming in. Apparently, Altiora, we are ready for their winner interview. I believe that we were speaking with Spirits, not Sprite. Yes. I'm so sorry about that, but how are you feeling? How does this win feel?
Feels great, to be honest. We are so proud of us,
yay.
And the roster change did a lot of, you can see like the improvement that we got to.
I don't know why you're not drinking your victory Sprite behind you. There we go. Oh, that's refreshing. I mean, it's not really champagne, but close enough. There we go. Chug, chug, chug.
This is all good.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that you got a little sip there. But I do want to ask you, what did you and your team focus on during the break, and how did you guys adjust to all the changes so well?
It was a hard one. Trying to find the good player, the good role that we adjust, and the chemistry. We didn't have like a lot of time, but we're getting to it. So we're improving every single day, and
on that one, we didn't realize it, but
can see the result right now.
Great. And, you know, we were just chatting with our casters, and Mirage is very dominant in the Canadian division. Do you think that Altiora can be the best in the Canadian division?
I think with our roster and the way that we improve so fast, I think we can definitely be the best team in Canada for real, and become the best team in the world maybe.
Yeah, watch him out.
Hey, I love it. I love the confidence. Well, thank you so much, Spirit. Go enjoy that Sprite. Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's just saying that that's our main goal.
You took like a big fucking drink out of it.
And that's what we're aiming for.
Well, you never know in Siege, right? So best of luck to y'all. Please enjoy that victory and enjoy that Sprite as well. And I hope that you have a wonderful Friday. Thank you so much, Spirit.
You too.
All right, I'm going to bring it back to our casters, Kix and Intero. And sorry, I don't know if y'all, it seemed like there was some slight audio issues, but I think we could hear him pretty well. And I like that confidence, you know, like he's saying, hey, like we can take on Mirage, maybe be the best in the world. And, you know, I think that the three of us have talked about this and just about how we're watching the Canadian division develop. But I feel like we're seeing some big improvements from these teams, and it's been really, really fun to watch. But to wrap things up, I just kind of want to get your perspective on the Canadian division in stage 2, and do you think that they've made the improvements that I was saying? Do you think that this is going to be really fun for stage 2? Kix, I'm going to put you in the hot seat first.
Oh, awesome. Yes, I do. I think that the Canadian division is coming along nicely. I really like to see roster changes like this with Altiora for specifically, where it just seems to be a net positive. Having teams take those massive strides is really important. And having teams like Mirage be challenged by other squads like potentially Altiora in the future is also important in your region's growth. I think that the Canadian division is going to be one of the fastest growing divisions in the world ever. It's one of the smallest ever, but I think I think the proximity to an already established division and the potential that lies in there is going to allow them to flourish. And I'm pretty excited to continue to watch that. I think today we got to see a great example of the norm being upset, and that is always fun to watch with Altiora beating Nordik despite expectations.
Well, I'm sure Intero and I definitely agree. But y'all, we got the Corsair play of the day in. Any guesses as to what it could be?
Lackey.
Lackey.
Lackey
Lackey's
on
clutch.
Consulate or Euphoria's clutch on Oregon. One of the two,
Well,
I
let's
think
roll
is.
it. Okay, let's see who's right. Corsair play of the day is
It's Lackey. Yeah.
Okay, Lackey.
Yeah. It's super obviously. I mean, like, yeah, he had a big round here. This was quite massive.
Huge round, and he
Yeah.
loses it at the end. I mean, but at that point, your job is to get to the diffuser on time, right? Or at least stop them from getting to the diffuser on time. And I think that it was really well played. He read into it well. I mean, a big part of it is just that Altiora peaked one by one, and then weren't able to get the pulse upstairs fast enough. But sometimes the best clutches aren't just your own effort; it's the lack of effort from your opponents. In some ways, you get a hand from them misplaying it.
Aw, well, one of the many great plays that we saw today. And next week's match, it's Mirage versus Livid. Very excited about that. But it's time for us to say goodbye. So I obviously want to give a big thank you to Kix and Intero. Y'all are the best. Always have fun working with y'all on Fridays a little bit more closely than I get to during the week. And obviously want to say thank you to the crew. Want to say thank you to all of you. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on Monday. Bye, everybody.